James, can you,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Warner?
Yeah.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz?
Here.
Trustee Pell?
Present.
Trustee Stafford?
Yeah.
Trustee Welker?
Here.
So we have a quorum present today?
Thank you. Dan, you have a discussion with Sean O'Neill, the Peconic Baykeeper?
Sean, are you here? Maybe later.
Okay.
Yeah. Also.
Right. There's a second discussion on for Laura Fabrizio, the Merchants Bay project, a new location for a floating upweller. Is Laura here? Hi. Please come up.
Sorry, Kim is on his way. He just didn't know the new regulations.
All right.
Thank you. Hi. So as we've discussed, we want to put a Fluxy or floating upweller at the West Hampton Beach Marina. And we've gotten approval from the mayor and her board in West Hampton. Thank you.
You just sign in.
Oh, sure.
You can either sit there or go to the podium, whichever you're comfortable at.
Stay right there.
I'm going to stay right here, thank
Yep.
you. As long as you're not going to yell at me, Scott. So there's a map. Laura, could you just state your name for the record, please? Sure, Laura Fabrizio. Thank you. So in your folder, there's a map of the proposed location and the location that the West Hampton Beach mayor and Mayor Moore and her trustees approved. And Kim did actually, he's here, he'll be here in a minute. He did
Okay.
actually scout out the location and felt that would be a good location. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure, I apologize. Thanks. This will be our first aluminum Flupsy.
And last year you placed in a solar-powered one in
In the West Hampton Beach.
Hampton Beach Yacht Club.
The yacht club, yeah.
So this is your second or your?
This is actually going to be our fifth Flupsy, but and our third in your district.
Okay.
We have one at the Quag dock also.
Okay.
Do you, the water temperature, you're going to use this in the summertime?
Yes.
Did you check the water temperature up there? And it might be kind of hot.
We didn't check it out in the summer, no, but we can definitely take a look. We will be putting a water monitoring site there that will include temperature,
I think
salinity.
it might not get enough water flow to, get too hot. It kills them. The smell,
Well, the Flupsy needs to be in 2 to 3 feet of water, so I would hope that temperature, that's the same as in the Quag dock
Well,
area.
you got water flow in there, so the water's moving up in there.
More so in the dock, you mean, by,
Yeah, so that's what you have to be careful of.
okay.
You might have trouble there with the temperature and the water, enough water flow to clean it.
When the mayor and a couple of the trustees were here the other day, they voiced their support
Yeah.
of your project.
They've actually been begging for us to put a Flupsy in that particular
That'll
area.
help clean the water up there. That's the only concern I would have is the water temperature in the summertime. It gets too hot up there.
You know what, I'll run that past Kim, if he hopefully gets here. He can maybe speak to that. And if not...
Downstairs?
He was downstairs, they wouldn't let him in. They stopped him.
Okay.
I used your name, Ed, and it didn't help.
No, everybody's got to have identification here. It's a new world.
I know, well, it's probably better, safer.
Yeah.
When did you want to put this in?
We're targeting July. And obviously, we would love for all of you to attend our little breaking ground ceremony that we will be hosting. No.
Now,
Well, the parking was also a little crazy. We parked literally a mile away. There was no parking. So Sorry, Ed.
And the proposed Flupsy that you're looking at now, the Cornell's going to get all the proper permits and everything?
Yes,
They're in the
Cornell will
process.
manage, it will
Yep.
fall under their umbrella.
Yep.
It will fall, same as the
And it's gonna
quad.
be over,
It will meet,
over in here somewhere?
it's, do you know where the paddle boarding was last year? It's going to be kind of in that area.
Okay.
We're just looking at the depth of the water during low tide to make sure that it's deep enough. We need at least 2.5 feet, hopefully,
Yeah.
for the barrels to not
Hit the bottom.
hit the bottom.
It's all
You like it?
compliant material.
Yes, of course. No, yes, no, of course. Yes. And Ed, you specifically asked for a specific kind of aluminum, and I spoke with Kim about it, and he said,
Yes.
no problem.
I think it's a good project, and
Thank you.
No
Do you know-
objection to the site, it's out of the way.
well, I think it's a site that they're proposing right now.
It's pretty wide there.
Hopefully, it'll allow the shellfish to grow well there.
Well, yeah, we're
Not-
targeting 100,000 oysters for this
Okay.
particular Flupsy.
Okay.
And the nice thing about it is we'll use it as an educational Flupsy also. We're going to try to hold some classes there for the local community.
Okay.
That's great.
Thank you.
Now, who's going to manage the Flupsy? Is it going to be through the Merchants Bay project, or is it going to be students from maybe the local schools, or?
We normally, what we do is we use local students. We actually, this year, have hired somebody to oversee, now that we have 5 Flupsies, it's a lot of work, as I'm sure you all know. So we've actually hired a science teacher from East Mauritius to manage all 5 of our Flupsies. So he will be overseeing them all. And obviously, we work very closely with Kim and his team. And then we won't hire, but then we'll ask for volunteers from the local community. We reach out to the libraries and the schools. I mean, Jock Homer will probably help us find some volunteers to manage it. And we try to do like a rotating system, so it's not one team getting too overburdened with it. So we'll have like 2 groups of 4 with John and Kim overseeing it.
And you're going to plant them in the western part of Merchants Bay, correct?
We're going to plant them ideally in the 2 beds that we have in your township, which,
Okay.
as we've spoken about, I would love to find a way of doing something so we can sanction that area, but we
Well,
don't.
I think that's a conversation we're going to have with the rest of the board to memorialize an area where because we do have one shellfish sanctuary west of Picket Point, but it was specifically meant to be hard clamps placed there, and the depth of water and the bottom sediment is, very muddy there, so it wouldn't accommodate the oysters.
If we were, because we do put some clams, we put clams in 2 of our Flupsies.
Okay.
We could arrange for this one to pitch, or the one in Quag to maybe be clams. Would that be an option for us to use that sanction?
Well, I mean,
We can come back and talk about that if it's not on the agenda, but.
no, I mean, it's something that the board feels comfortable, because clams will grow much better in the bay, and they will survive and they will reproduce, where the oysters will grow and survive, but they don't seem to have a recruitment in the bay.
Which, I know, we're hoping, Greg and I are going to go out in a couple of weeks and check on the bed where we're currently. We
Okay.
probably have somewhere around 400,000 oysters in there now, so we're really, we'll be going into our 4th season, so we're really, really hoping to see some recruitment.
You might get a little bit there, but most of the time it goes, because they like brackish water better too.
Yes, I know, and one of the things we're going to look at, my God, where were you?
Well, it's a new system. Don't blame the computers for that. Hi, everyone.
Want to just put your name on
Here, sign your name.
for the record, please?
You missed the whole thing.
I know.
He prepped me pretty good there, don't you think?
Yeah, you did good.
I hope so.
One of the things we want to look into this year, Bill, is the salinity and the water conditions to see where we might be able to put our oysters so that we can start to see some recruitment, because I'm sure this
Put
board.
some, like up in the creeks.
Do you have a suggestion to a creek that might work, or an area that might work?
Not offhand. Yeah, we'd have to look at it.
Be up to you to determine an
Yeah.
area where the salinity would be low enough.
We
so-
can look at that, but we also like to work with you
Freshwater
guys.
Springs.
Sir, I'm
so
sorry,
we're
could
all
you
on the
please
same page.
state your name for the record?
Kim Tetro, T-E-T-R-A-U-L-T, from Cornell Cooperative.
T-E-T-R-A-U-L-T?
Yeah.
And you're from Cornell?
Cooperative. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I know that Greg is really happy with the growth and the size and the growth and the area that we're putting the oysters in currently, right by,
So you've been monitoring these sites for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Now, the survival rate, how is that?
Survival's good. Recruitment, that might take a while to look at, but survival's good.
this year we're hoping
It's
that.
really good, and
Yeah.
growth is tremendous, too.
You don't have any problems with borers or,
No.
Well, there's plenty of predation,
yeah,
yeah.
but overall it's good.
No, we're not going to get,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, is when they're free planted, they're free.
Free.
Yes,
So that's free for all.
yep.
But we're working it, and
How do you think the temperature is going to be up there in the summertime?
Things are warming up.
Yeah.
We can do.
Might be too hot.
We can throw a hobo out there and start
Yeah.
getting some. We should be doing that anyway. Throw a constant hobo monitoring unit. It just scrolls salinity, temperature. You put it in the computer. We can do that. Let's
Well, we're
put
going to
that
have
on-
one at the site over
Yeah.
at the marina,
Well,
one of our.
let's do that.
But we can-
we can do that so we can get some more information. It's good to get a baseline.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say, you should have a baseline.
Absolutely. So that's something that we can add to the system. So
And what is the temperature threshold at which the oysters stop, filtering and really growing much?
stop. Oh, cold-wise?
No, the
Hot. It's too hot.
Hot, yeah, I would say 90. It's pretty hot. I mean, but what's more important about the water temperature is when you start baking oxygen out of the system. When you start baking oxygen out of the system and you start getting a DO that reduces, then you start to run into problems. And that's what we got to be, in general, concerned about, especially areas that don't flush well. I don't think that'll be a problem there. I have that problem at the Marine Center, big time.
Well, the tidal fluctuation's about 30 inches there,
Yeah.
correct? So,
Yeah.
plus you got the canals running by.
Yeah, no,
so-
there, I don't think we have the same kind of issues. The water's been running really nice there.
Okay,
Things are growing like crazy,
all right.
so.
So, are we in favor of moving this
The
along?
location.
I have no problem with it.
Okay,
So fine.
all right.
Yeah.
And if
So-
you need anything on our end, you know where to find us.
Yes.
Just keep in contact with James and stuff like that as far as the permitting and stuff goes forward. I guess at the next meeting, we should do a resolution, a memorializing resolution for this. Okay?
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
for the,
much.
birthday hello.
Okay. Happy birthday, baby.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Give Greg my regards.
I stole your pen.
Sean O'Neill, the Peconic Baykeeper.
Gentlemen,
Trustees,
how are you?
partner here, I'm sure you guys know, Peter Haskell. Sean O'Neill, Executive Director, Peconic Baykeeper. Here to talk to you today about our pilot aquaculture project we have going on in Peconic Bay in the town of Southampton. Also, just some updates on some septic work we're doing that we'd like to keep you guys abreast of, and perhaps solicit any partnership or anything you might want to do along those lines, mutual goals. So Peconic Baykeeper is in possession of a private oyster grant. It's about a mile west of the Shinnecock Canal in Peconic Bay. Beginning in the fall of last year, we began pursuing a project with Cornell Cooperative Extension and local industry partner Haskell Seafood to provide a oyster aquaculture program for local businesses as a business incubator and startup program, both to have increased economic development in the area and water quality benefits associated with aquaculture. So basically there was no intermediate stage between what Cornell was doing and some of the town hatchery programs are doing for oyster gardening, between that and full-scale oyster commercial aquaculture. So we kind of saw this as a way of having a program where people could get into oyster aquaculture, learn from some of the pros. We have Greg Rivara as our other partner in Cornell Cooperative Extension on kind of teaching people the best management practices and also the most environmentally friendly management practices for oyster aquaculture. So we've applied for all our permits with the DEC, Coast Guard, and Army Corps of Engineers. We're starting to get those permits back now. So we basically wanted just to let you guys know what we were up to with this project as it kind of unfolds. One of the things that we were looking into, Peter and I, Peter is going to be one of his 6 local businesses that will be using these oyster plots. As you probably know, Peter has seafood processing facilities. He has the ability to help us add value to these oyster products and help us market these products. So we were looking to try to secure town mooring for our demonstration oyster farm that'll be happening on Peter's aquaculture plot, and to help assist with the project. So
Where's the mooring going to be? Because that's in state waters right now.
right, the mooring, we have a facility in Red Creek Pond, and we have Baykeeper has a property at 167 Red Creek Road.
Okay.
Across from that, so that would logically be the best place for it. I have information to pass out to you guys for.
And what type of vessel would you be looking to moor there?
The 21 foot, right?
Yeah, I have a 17 and a 21 Carolina skiff, so probably an anchor that would handle the 21 with potential
And
use of both of those
It's going to
boats.
moor off the beach with a pulley,
Yeah,
so it's not going to be out in the middle. 'Cause
And we have an
I'd say
18.
so.
We have an 18-foot Parker as well, Baykeeper, that we would be participating in this to run educational tours. So while this kind of oyster farming is going on, we also want to be able to bring people out to see what aquaculture looks like, to show them what we're up to. And we're also working with Cornell. We're going to have a benthic study of the area done. So all this kind of, if we had a vessel, easy access to this spot with the vessel and a mooring, it would be advantageous for the program. On a separate note, but on this project, we're beginning a funding cycle with Empire State Development grants, with water quality improvement grants from New York State, which require municipal partnerships between nonprofits like Baykeeper, for-profit industries like Haskell Seafood, and the municipalities. So once again, just introducing this project to you, it's something we would like to pursue with the town and with the trustees to further fund the economic development and water quality benefits that will arise from this project. So, if you guys are looking to partner.
Everybody's trying to get out of the box these days to try and get things done, it seems, huh?
Yeah, and clearly the giant problem is the septic systems and reducing nitrogen that way, but we also have to reduce the nitrogen that we're already producing. And aquaculture is a proven way of reducing nitrogen in the water while also having all the economic benefits and public education benefits through bringing people out to the farm and showing them how these things work.
Did you look into CPF 20 as far as getting some funding for your project?
We haven't pursued the CPF 20 directly yet for this project. Really, the first part of this project was privately funded with some of our donors. The major first goal, which we're getting to, is getting the permitting and getting the cages in the water. We wanted to accomplish that before we pursued further funding for this project. But yes, we would like to pursue CPF funding for this.
Red Creek Pond is a waiting list mooring area, so I guess you can put your application in to get on the waiting list. But if you want to get started sooner, Cold Springs Pond, which is just east of the canal, which isn't far from where your project is going to run, there's plenty of mooring area in that pond. I mean, Trustee Pell had an aquaculture mooring in there and an aquaculture program running in there for many years. And it, you know, it's more than adequate water. It's a nice inlet to get in and out of. And it's logistically the same, almost the same distance to the grounds that you're going to be using for your aquaculture.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know if you want to,
Is it possible to put ourselves on the waiting list for Red Creek, but also pursue?
Yeah, keep it both.
Okay.
We could even do one application through Haskell's and another through Baykeeper, and
well, I mean,
look at it that way.
like, we had, you know, worked with other entities, the Conscience Point Oyster Company, giving them specifically the aquaculture site moorings. You know, we didn't charge them, you know, but for the Peconic Baykeeper, that would be if the board sentiment was to give you a mooring, we could maybe waive the fee for specifically for the Baykeeper in Cold Springs Pond. I mean, that would be.
Plus, if it's rough, you can have some stuff in there that grows very well, and you can bring people out there instead of burning people all the way up there.
Okay.
Because when you have a boatload of people, that could be a long way.
Well, there is a
Instead of
site.
5 minutes out, 5 minutes back.
There is a site in Cold Springs Pond that was the Trustee Pell had used prior to him being a trustee, and Kevin Green had used it for a year or so. It's in his name now that we have given a letter of permission for the aquaculturists to use our underwater bottom to grow oysters in the pond there. I don't know if you want to look into that. It's an option for you too.
Sure.
You got good water flow, good temperature.
Sure. You know, the reason we're pursuing this here is simply because of logistically, we don't have to pursue,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have to pursue permits. We don't have to go into the Suffolk County leasing program. But yeah, that, you know, the more opportunities, the better, for sure.
Because if you're going to bring people back and forth, you're better off being inside the creek,
Sure.
especially if you have kids.
Right.
And it'll grow faster there than out in the bay.
Right.
18 months.
Well, I wanted to attend today too, just in support of the project as kind of a verbal letter of support. Sean contacted me last year. We started working on a few things, partnering industry with environment. And we had a very nice event at Macquarie where we were promoting wild-caught seafoods that were responsibly caught and balancing the ideas of aquaculture and commercial fishing together. So a lot of the track that Sean has taken with these projects, I find, is very beneficial to our wild-caught community, as well as, you know, promoting our opportunities to practice aquaculture. So just
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just to give you also, you know, formally introducing, my background is in fisheries economics, and I have a background working in the seafood industry, working as a commercial fisherman and whatnot, and it's important to me to make sure that we're partnering, you know, the industry, we're good partners, we're on the same side, we both need water quality. It's important to make sure everybody understands that, you know, commercial fishermen and aquaculturists are the stewards of our environment, and anything we can do to support them while also getting water quality gains, we're in favor of. The last thing on a quick unrelated matter, where we got approved for CPF funding for a new alternative nitrogen reducing septic system at our property on 167 Red Creek Road that we anticipate putting in this summer. Just got to do a little bit more survey work, updating survey work. I'll give you just some information that we're working on in terms of net nitrogen reduction. And we'd love when we do put it in. We've contacted Bridget Fleming's office, some of our environmental partners at Nature Conservancy Group for the East End, and we'd love to have a kind of a ribbon cutting event in which we'll be introducing some new strategies we have for possible funding to put more of these septic systems in the ground. We're working with the local installer Brian McGowan, Advanced Wastewater Solutions,
Did mine.
to put the system in, and also we're working directly to kind of provide a way to bridging the gap between the funding sources that currently exist and the full funding for projects, specifically projects that are in the critical area, as denoted by Southampton Town, and we think we might be able to find some private funding sources to put more of these systems in the ground free of charge to homeowners. So it's just something we'll be introducing when we put our system in the ground, and we'd love, if any of the trustees would like to attend and, either show their support or.
Yeah, just let us know. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Sean, James Duryea, he'll be the contact to the office. So, just get his email so that, when you have any events or anything, you forward your, information to James and he'll disperse it amongst the rest of the trustees.
And one last thing to pass out the card. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions about anything. And, look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Pete. If you're interested in getting on the waiting list, go down to our office and talk to Jessica.
Okay.
She'll put you on the list, okay?
Great. Thank you.
And she'll give the information if you want to go to Cold Springs Pond as far as the application. Okay?
Any idea on how long those waiting lists usually are?
Red Creek is a long time.
Depends how many people used it this year.
Your speculation.
Yes.
Pure speculation. All right.
She could give you an update on the list and the amount of people waiting in there, okay?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to open up the meeting to a public portion. Would anybody like to?
Parameters on this? Your parameters.
There's going to be a 3-minute speaking time.
Can you?
Me?
No, because there's a lot of people in the audience, and I'd like everybody to get a chance to comment.
I've been asked by the Halsey family to introduce Mrs. Halsey, who's the matriarch of the family who donated the property over on Rose Hill Road. She's just got a few words to say.
My name is Madeline Halsey, but most people know me as Peachy. I'm 90 years old, and I've lived in Watermill for 70 years. The property on Rose Hill Road was donated by my father-in-law before I moved here in the 1940s. I just want to say that this was never my husband and my father-in-law's wish.
Thank you.
Yes, can you state your name for the record, please? And,
My name is John Bennett, and I represent Jeff and Brenda Benjamin, who own the property directly abutting to the north. It's not easy for me to appear before you on this issue because it's a tough issue, and I know a lot of you for years, and I know you're all dedicated people. Otherwise, why would you be here? The intentions were all good, but as I see, and was just retained over the weekend, so haven't been able to delve into it too quickly. But some issues came out immediately to me. It would appear that there's a deed from the Halseys of the town of Southampton to the trustees. It's either property that you were meant to hold for the benefit of the commonalty and the trust holders, that's freeholders. That's your reason for existence, and thus can't be alienated or used in whole or in part for some non-governmental or some non-beneficial use beneficial to the trustees, or it's surplus property, which I find it hard to believe it could be categorized that way, but even so, then it would be subject to some requirements to alienate any or all part of it, public notice, bidding, et cetera, et cetera. None of that seems to have happened. And again, these are issues that are coming up. Then there's some talk of a boundary line agreement. I don't understand that at all. Boundary line agreements happens when there's some dispute over encroachments, but that would be adverse possession or prescriptive rights, but adverse possession does not run against the crown, the sovereign, you guys. So I don't even understand why that was ever entered into, and then seems to have been furthered by an agreement that you guys made, you folks made, excuse me, for being colloquial, all without public input, and all would appear to me, regardless of the characterization of the property, in violation of procedural laws. procedural laws. And again, I know the trustees, because they stand a little bit different than some of the governmental entities. For example, we always thought the secret didn't apply to you folks, but again, the court has said that's a procedural law and applies to you. So I don't see any of the procedures that were followed, assuming for the purpose of argument, can be alienated. So in any event, my guess would be these these agreements were all void ab initio, which means you can go back and say to the neighbor, we're very sorry, these were inappropriate agreements. We think it's only equitable to pay the money back that you put into the property, because the court may or may not say that. But and the town board can help you out with that in terms of. So I think these agreements should be voided. And in any event, they're also within 300 feet of wetlands. Unequivocally, it's not a bulkheaded property, whereas the health department, DEC, planning board, et cetera, none of this stuff was even begin to have been observed. So from both a land use point of view and a structural, functional point of view, I would ask you to make a determination that these agreements were void ab initio, come to some equitable solution with the owner to the north, and put these properties back to where they should be under your dominion and control for the benefit of the public. Thank you.
My name is Philip Gay. I've been a Watermill resident for my lifetime, 64 years. I was away in Florida and just got back last week. At the end of Rose Hill Road, there's a place we locals have called the Clam Stand for decades. I've been hunting in Mecox since the late 1960s, and I've used this area to put my boat in the water at the boat ramp there. There was a rumor in March about a huge project that would change the Clam Stand. I called Trustee Bill Pell and asked him on March 27th what the intentions were there. At the time, he told me that an exchange was taking place with a homeowner at the end of Rose Hill Road. Bill said, and I quote, "There will be a row of trees planted on the edge of his property in exchange for maintenance of the road and keeping the ramp clear of sand and plow the road when it snowed. It will save the town money for maintenance," he said. I have seen the ramp cleared of sand twice in the last 5 years. The grass is mowed once every 2 weeks and takes 10 minutes. When it snows, it's plowed 3 to 4 times a year and takes 5 minutes. I went to Florida for 2 weeks at the beginning of April. My brother sent me pictures of what had taken place at the Clam Stand. No, it was not a row of trees. It was dozens. The 100-year-old tree that was 3 feet in diameter grew in the center of the grass, was cut to the ground. There indeed was a row of trees, but not where Bill Pell told me. They were now on the northern edge of the property, and all the land to the south of them was now planted and sod with its irrigation, new asphalt bordered by cobblestone, with a long winding driveway from the estate passing closely to where the old tree had grown, now making this look like it was the wealthy homeowner's property all along. The fact that I was lied to by an elected official angers me. The fact that I voted for every member of the town trustees angers me. And the sad thing that angers and disappoints me is the way the project was done in secrecy, and the speed the homeowner brought in contractors to do the work so quickly. Also, why was there not a public hearing? The job of the town trustees is to govern 25,000 acres of underwater land to oversee and protect its quality for the freeholders of the town of Southampton. Years ago, I picked up a booklet compiled by Stephen Michut, who served from 1950 to 1965. It says, and I quote, "As our populations and problems increase, we must realize that our varied interests must be compromised and that the blessings of our heritage are ample to be shared by all." Everyone in this room has had to compromise. The huge changes that have taken place at Southampton, rules and regulations, and so forth. I have some 5 questions and then I'll end. I would like to see this agreement that was signed between the property owner and the trustees. I'm sure it is public record and needs to be produced. I want to know why Bill Pell said on March 27th that he had not seen the plans for this project. This leads me to the next question. How could this board vote on something that the elected officials never read? As I write this, I think the government does it all the time, but this was a mistake and should have not happened. Another interesting fact was how this land that was deeded to the town was then later deeded to the town trustees. Was there something they knew? Question mark. Also, Mr. Halsey deeded the land to be used by local fishermen, clammers, duck hunters, and ice boaters, not to make a multi-million-dollar mansion improve in value. Remember, shared by all. What is going to stop the town
4
trustees
minutes.
from doing this at other boat ramps? Are they going to make deals at boat ramps like Little Neck Road? The ramp, dozens of locals put their boats in the water to go clamming and fishing in the summer. On their Saturday or Sunday, make another deal with another homeowner, just like at the clam stand, so it'll sport no more than 3 trucks and trailers with little room to move around. The Halsey name is mentioned several times in the Donegan patent, and this is not a tribute to their family name, nor Mr. Halsey that deeded the property to the town. They are probably rolling in their grave. The town trustees need to bring this property back to what it was before, period.
Francis Adam Chesky, 40 West Prospect Street, Southampton. First of all, I feel so sorry for the Halsey family. It's a slap in their face. I want to thank them for deeding the property over to our freeholders of the town of Southampton for us to use, to have and hold and to enjoy. I was away too on vacation for 2 weeks. I got back. I read 2 weeks of Southampton Press and was astonished. Could not believe my eyes. I hear that you say you wanted to create more access to the bay. Well, now there's less than half of the property for access. It's decreased the access to the property. It makes it look like the gentleman has gained more property to his private property. This is for the freeholders to have and to hold and to use. Now we cannot use that property. 15-year agreement, I can't see how you came to that conclusion to have it for 15 years. You guys run a 2-year term. Whatever agreement you make with somebody or deal, it should be 2 years. So somebody that comes in next doesn't have to fix your mess. Because this is a mess. Mess. I want to apologize to the Halsey family because this is an atrocity to them. It's sad. It's so sad. And I can't believe that, I mean, every piece of property that the town trustees own, the bay bottoms, everything, it's priceless. The property is priceless. For no reason this should have happened. For landscaping, you could have asked somebody to mow the lawn, like Phil said. 5 minutes and it could have been mowed. Anybody, I would have helped out. You want me to prune some trees? You want me to mow the lawn? I mean, you asked the community. And why wasn't there a meeting? Like you said, public hearing. Ask the public before you do something like this. This is big. You need to hear the public speak on what they want, and the family, especially the family. This is an atrocity to them. I can't even speak. It's so, it's wrong, very wrong. And again, I wish the Halsey family well, and I hope they get the property back, and I hope you do them right by giving them back the piece of property. Go to that homeowner and say, I'm sorry, we messed up. Whatever it takes to get back this property to the way it was, let's do it. Let's do it.
Good point.
Let's do it. Thank you. Make it legal.
Fran, you can bring that right up there.
Was that?
You can bring that piece of paper up there.
Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Richard Prokowski, lifelong resident of Watermill, user of this ramp, this area, family traditions, and I know the Halsey name has been mentioned many, many times in there. I know some of the Halseys very well. They don't like to be connected with this, and they say it's not about them, but it really is about them. It's about the fact that their family dedicated this piece of property, that the trustees in the town used the way in a manner that they did. I have millions of questions. I've lost probably a week's worth of sleep over this thing, which people might think is silly, but it's the emotion that this thing has created, and the questions, I know I'm not going to get any answers. This is a public speaking forum, so we're just going to speak to you. It's my understanding that from the couple of weeks ago, it was mentioned that the town board had moved the property line prior to the trustees being involved with this. Again, questions arise. How can the town board take it upon themselves to move a property line without a public hearing, without some sort of forum? I'm not a politician, I'm not an attorney, but it doesn't seem possible, especially with a piece of property that was given to the town. All the same questions: how, why, what were you thinking? Ed, you said the last meeting we were here 2 weeks ago, your father taught you one thing is to listen real well. My dad told me something that may or may not be appropriate, and these are just, I'm not representing anyone here, that trust is like virginity. You only lose it once. I feel you've all lost your virginity. And I'm hoping that when the election time comes, your day jobs will take you back, because there's no rhyme or reason for what happened here. And I'm not going to take up any more of anyone else's time, but you've lost our trust. I don't know the trust of the rest of the town, but it doesn't look good at the next elections. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Thea Dombrowski-Fry. I was born and raised in Watermill, but presently I live in Hampton Bays. I'm going to read a letter that I'm going to be sending to you. Dear trustees of the town of Southampton, recent events on the trustee property known as Rose Hill access to the more recent public, and the noticeable changes to the property, which were done by the owner-resident of 475 Rose Hill Road, have put the freeholders in a state of confusion and, quite frankly, shock. Likewise, the homeowner seems similarly shocked by the freeholder's reaction, which seems to indicate that he was improperly informed. The reasoning for the changes that were done seem ridiculous on the surface, and considerable changes to the property will infringe the rights of the freeholders and their access. This goes against the doggone patent the trustees were elected to uphold, and in my opinion, the changes are not beneficial to the freeholders. It is unfortunate the documents were not read, admittedly by one of our trustees, and the situation was not fully researched or comprehended. The freeholders do not want weak representation that breaks down at the first sign of confrontation and embarrassment for the lack of knowledge, but the freeholders expect strength and the ability to be solution-orientated to protect the patent and our rights, which have been bestowed upon us since 1686. I am not sure, as trustees, you fully understand the importance of the patent being protected, or in this case, not protected at all. The patent predates the New York State Constitution, as well as the Constitution of the United States of America. The patent must be protected as a written document for generations of freeholders to come. This is the obligation of the trustees, and it shall never be ignored or compromised. I have asked for a FOIL on the documents related to the Rose Hill situation, and have been informed by the town attorney's office that this will take 30 days for the information to be released. I find this to be unreasonable, considering the topic is a hot one and on the minds of the freeholders and the town government. The documents should be easily accessible to the public at large. And respectfully, I, Thea Dombrowski Fry, as a freeholder of the town of Southampton, request the trustees and the town board to nullify the recent contract to said property owner and take the said property be returned to its original state as it had been used for the last 76 years. I kindly suggest the trustees and the freeholders behind me read the document which gives us the rights to enjoy and protect the lands and the waters before us. Thank you very much.
First of all, I would like to say that I am grateful. Oh, Joanna Halsey, Watermill. First of all, I would like to say that I am grateful. I'm grateful to everyone here. Coming to a 1 o'clock meeting on Monday is not an easy task for many of us. I am grateful for the comments on 27 East, and I'm grateful for the editorial in the Southampton Press. So unbeknownst to many of us, this has quietly been going on since 2006, first under Anna Throne-Hulst, then Jay Schneiderman, and finally tossed to the trustees. 2 weeks have gone by since your last meeting, and I still have lots of questions. Why wasn't there a notice sign posted on the property? Why weren't the abutting neighbors informed? What's the annual cost to cut the grass, plow the road, and dredge the boat ramp? Why was no one informed? Not the Watermill CAC, the Watermill Community Club, the Watermill Village Improvement Association, Bayman, Southampton Press, nor my family. No one knew until it was done. What happened to your 90-day clause? What happened to, quote, we can get out of this agreement at any time, end of quote? Did the New York State DEC approve the landscaping? My understanding is that native plants are to be used in environmentally sensitive areas, especially adjacent to wetlands. How, why would you take a gifted public property and privatize it? This was gifted long before I was born, and I'm in my 60s. Why was there no public meeting? If the town/trustees can hijack this property, who's to say that it won't happen to all the land locked into easement and preservation plans? If you, the trustees, have no money, why'd you agree to take the property? Did the present homeowner's lawyer also represent Sarah? You all took an oath to uphold the Donegan patent, which states in part, quote, represents the best interests of the freeholders, end of quote. You did not. If you, as a board, did not remember your oath, where the heck was your attorney? This is so insulting, so egregious. I'm asking trustees from 2006 until now, town board members from 2006 until now, to speak the truth. I'm looking for transparency. I'm looking for someone with a moral and ethical compass to shed some light and right this wrong, because we all know something isn't right. Thank you. Oh, and I just wanted to, one other thing. My mom, it's the first time she's ever spoken in a public meeting.
Good afternoon. Jim Williams, 100 Big Fresh Pond Road, Southampton. Bruce, I have a question for you. Did you go to the homeowners or did they come to you? MECOX is your responsibility. Did you go to them or did they come to you?
We're not going to have a back and forth here.
Okay,
We're going to
well-
address the board
Okay.
respectfully. Everybody can respectfully address the board.
That's respectful.
Can you address the
That's
board with
respectful.
respect
Particular time.
and keep it that way, please? This isn't like a inquisition here. We want to make this,
Okay, Mike. Okay,
I am respectful. traditionally, the trustees always have back and forth with us. This is new to cover up what you did. There is no cover-up here.
Answer the question. State what you want to say.
Okay, yeah, I do have that question. I also like to know why the trust, I understand you folks didn't read it and you voted for it, perhaps on advice of your attorney that this was a good project, but you gave away our land, okay? It's held in trust for us by you good people here, and we got burned on this. The only one to benefit from this is the homeowner. And that seems like an abdication of your responsibility. Perhaps you didn't mean it to come out that way, but it did. Another question is, are the trustees going to survey this land now after the homeowner has done all these improvements and find out if he has gone over the line? And if so, does that, make this deal null and void, and can we get it back? Okay, obviously there's been a problem, so I respectfully suggest that you folks figure a way how to get the land back for us. Thank you.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Corwith White, and I'm not sure who got here first, the Halseys or the Corwiths, but I'm pretty sure we were both here before your board was ever in existence. I'm not here to question your intentions in regards to the Rose Hill property. I'm here to remind you that you work for us, the freeholders of the town of Southampton, and you represent us. And with the environment that we have found ourselves in the past few years, I don't understand how on earth you could think that this was a good idea. We are consistently bombarded with attacks on our access in the town of Southampton for our beach rights, and I don't understand how you could sign off on any project that would decrease that access. And my last question is, do you honestly believe that this property owner is just going to hand the property back at the end of 15 years with their fancy lawyers and all of the time and money and energy that they've put into this? And the year 15 years is curious to me because it's more than 2 times 7, which I believe is a number that people use when figuring eminent domain and who has rights to property. So I just, bad choice all around, guys, bad choice.
Good afternoon. Kevin McAllister of Defend H2O. I served as the former baykeeper for 16 years, and this board is well aware of certainly my interest in to protect natural shorelines for habitat value and public access. I've been wanting to address the board for some weeks, and it certainly predated this issue, but it is germane. As you may know, I've been speaking to sea level rise and the incremental loss of natural shorelines. And I know this is a long-standing, policy or position of the board to protect natural shorelines, to take a hard line against armoring, bulkheads, revetments, geotextiles. I myself, in the course of my work throughout basically coastal areas of eastern Long Island, I'm seeing a significant push for new structures to come in. When given the expected rise in sea level, put it in context, we've seen approximately 4 inches over the last 40 years. We are looking between 16 and 30 inches of sea level rise over the next 40 years. This is according to New York State DEC regulations that have been adopted last year. So there's no question that these shorelines are going to be looking to migrate landward. Obviously for purposes of habitat value and public access. Incrementally, it'd be a real shame if we lost public access through the intertidal zone because of, again, the structures coming in. And I can tell you there are new miles of structure in contradiction to the Peconic Estuary Program in the last 5 years within the Peconic Basin. And that's alarming to me. Anywhere from several hundred feet to literally 1.5 miles in length. And I recognize Some of these areas are out of your jurisdiction, but I think it behooves the board to be well aware of this. Lastly, and again, this may not fall into your purview of jurisdiction, but I can tell you the subtle erosion or loss of riparian access, these public roadways or public access paths, in some cases covenants or developments, such as in Remsenburg, that are incrementally be taken over by adjacent property owners, eliminating access to the shoreline. So we're dealing with it on both ends, and there's no blame here, but ultimately, eyes wide open on this, and please be cognizant of sea level rise, protect the integrity of these shorelines, again, for habitat value and public access. Lastly, I'd urge the board, perhaps it's time to do a bit of an inventory, and not just exclusive to trustee lands, but also the town board. Let's see where public access has been provided or is historically in these deeds throughout the water bodies, and see if they still exist in some form. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rose Halsey, and I'm reading a letter from my daughter, Anna Halsey, who could not attend the meeting. Dear trustees, my name is Anna Halsey. I was born and raised in Watermill. I was unable to personally attend the May 7th meeting, and so I write to express my sincere disappointment in the trustees' decision to authorize the agreement amending the boundary line at 475 Rose Hill Road. Like many of my family members have already conveyed, I too have fond memories of the time spent at Hayground Cove. As a child, my cousins and I would take our dogs or ponies down to walk around the loop, have picnics in the grassy area, and enjoy the open space that our great-grandfather generously gave the town. Hayground Cove used to be my favorite place to go paddleboarding. It was always so easy and convenient to park, unload my paddleboard, and have a sandy area from which to enter the bay. I paddleboarded there religiously, and every time came to see the same familiar faces of families from diverse backgrounds enjoying the water and shoreline on a Sunday afternoon. It made me happy and proud that it was through my great-grandfather's efforts that all community members could access and enjoy the area. Now, when I look at the pictures of what has become of such a sacred and revered place, I am equally disappointed and confused. How could the people that I and so many others elected to preserve, protect, and defend our area's waterways not only allow, but actively facilitate such an inequitable outcome? Based upon the information in the Southampton press, it is difficult to see how the agreement was, in Mr. Horowitz's words, inviting more access. The unfavorable reality is that the decision creates logistic difficulties and makes such claims, even if it made the best intentions dubious. Where are people supposed to park? A good ramp is useless if it's inaccessible. Beyond that, the agreement plainly violates the spirit underlining my great-grandfather's decision to deed the land to the town and spoils the land's very character, a rare, undeveloped, and open grassy space for all. I do not know whether or to what extent town officials in New York State have actionable fiduciary obligations, but I am certain that each trustee, or at least should have, a moral compass, an ethical obligation to do good and act in the public's best interest. I expect the trustees had the best intentions when unanimously approving the agreement, but as the public outcry has demonstrated, there is a clear disconnect between intention and outcome in this particular case. How is it fair outcome when Mr. Frankel effectively expanded his lot line and receives the right of first refusal in exchange for maintenance and dredging? To my understanding, there was no public hearing before the action was approved. I do believe that much of the dismay could have been mitigated, if not avoided altogether, had the public been given the opportunity to express its concerns and make appropriate inquiries. Indeed, it seems at least some of the trustees expressed their regret and felt ill-informed about the scope of the agreement and its practical implications. Many questions are left unanswered. Who initially proposed the idea, Mr. Frankel or the trustees? What factors were considered in the decision-making process? How did the trustees determine that the agreement was fair to everyone, including the town constituents? Was a cost-effective analysis conducted? Were other options considered as an alternative way to finance the dredging and maintenance? Is the decision supported by precedent or similar arrangements between private individuals and trustees? I urge the trustees to correct what has been done. With all due respect, Mr. Stafford's statement in the Southampton Press that the trustees can't please everyone is no defense. It misses the entire point.
4 minutes.
This is not about pleasing everyone. It's about meeting the responsibility of one of the oldest governing bodies of North America. Quote, to preserve public access to the water, uphold the tradition of maritime community, and represent the best interest of the freeholders. These responsibilities compel corrective action, and I sincerely hope the trustees will do that. Respectfully submitted, Anna Halsey.
Michael White, Southampton. I've been a builder in this town since I'm 19. And every year there are more hoops to go through in this town, all right? I mean, to get something done takes literally forever. To go to the town attorney's office and get something done takes a year when you're doing a subdivision, all right? I bought a piece of property, Zay's Garage, you might know it. All right, I've been in litigation with them for 2 years, okay, to prove that that's been a gas station and a repair shop, okay? I mean, can you believe the town has spent 2 years of litigating with me over that? And I have farmers, I have people coming to my office say, listen, you need somebody to testify, we'll come over there and do it. Everything this board does and the town board does is a diversion. All right? They divert people's attention, okay? They keep them busy, me wasting $50,000 fighting a stupid town because a gas station's been there since 1926. Meanwhile, you guys, and I don't mean all of you, I know who's responsible for this, but no, I really do. Let me tell you some of the history behind this property. I worked on that property, all right? The person that first owned it was the most politically connected person. Listen, I'll say it here because I can't get sued. It's a public meeting. You can say whatever you want. Just remember that. This person was so politically connected, okay? There's a swimming pool on his bulkhead. He's got lot coverage almost 80%, okay? He had an access before any of this started with a gate pulling onto the Halsey's property because he couldn't even get in his garage. But the town let this go through. All right, but if you want to put a shed in Hampton Bays, you're going to wait 3 months and have to deal with every moron in that building department to come over and inspect. Or better yet, why don't you take too many trees out in North Watermill, all right? You'll wait for Marty Shea for 2 years so he could inspect your blueberry bushes, okay? That's what we go through. And then this town talks about keeping the locals here. I mean, you're destroying them one by one. You're not you guys, not all of you, but you're destroying every single farm family, fishing family. I mean, Billy Pell will tell you about fishing, right? I mean, look what they did to Hampton Bays. They destroyed that whole industry. It's gone. It's gone forever. And that's what's going on here. And how did this go through like this? How did you get the town attorney to work so fast? She was obviously outgunned by a $1,000 an hour attorney, because why would you give right of first refusal? Basically, if that property sells for whatever reason, he's going to get to buy it before you could actually buy it. If you wanted to buy it back, you can't do it. You know, I propose that you give the property back to the Halseys and let them figure out what they want to do. If they want to give it to the Peconic Land Trust or whatever they want to do, listen, I know you guys are under pressure, and I know some of you guys were probably pressured, but that's not right, and that's their property. And I can't believe there's a deed that says that that could ever be transferred to any private person. I can't believe it. And, you know, I think you guys should really think about going to Supreme Court, or we're going to have to get together and raise money and go there in Riverhead and get it overturned.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Steve Storch, Watermill. Basically, I could say all the same things that everybody else has already said, but I'm going to use my time to tell you how I think this happened. This is an essay by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a Lutheran pastor during the Nazi reign, and he wrote this. Stupidity is more dangerous and an enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion, in that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. Neither protest nor the use of force accomplished anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical, and when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. In all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied, and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. For that reason, the greater caution is called for when dealing with a stupid person than with the malicious one. Never again will we try to persuade the stupid person with reasons, for it is senseless and dangerous. If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. This much is certain, that is, in essence, not an intellectual defect, but a human one. There are human beings who are of remarkably agile intellect, yet stupid, and others who are intellectually quite dull, yet anything but stupid. We discover this to our surprise in particular situations. The impression one gains is not so much that stupidity is a congenital defect, but that under circumstances, people are made stupid, or that they allow this to happen to them. We further note that people who have isolated themselves from others, or who live in solitude, manifest this defect less frequently than individuals or groups of people inclined or condemned to sociability. And so it would seem that stupidity is perhaps less a psychological than a sociological problem. It is a particular fond of the impact of historical circumstances on human beings. A psychological concomitant contains certain external conditions. Upon closer observation, it becomes apparent that every strong upsurge of power in the public sphere, be it of political or religious nature, infects a large part of humankind with stupidity. It would even seem that this is virtually a sociological, psychological law. The power of the one needs the stupidity of the other. The process at work here is not that the particular human capacities, for instance, the intellect, suddenly atrophy or fail. Instead, it seems that under the overwhelming impact of rising power, humans are deprived of their inner independence and more or less consciously give up establishing an autonomous position toward the emerging circumstances.
Steve, you're 3 minutes up, Steve.
Is often stubborn.
Thank you for your comments.
Must not blind us to the fact that he is not independent.
Excuse me.
In conversation with him, one virtually feels that one is dealing not at all with him as a person, but with slogans, catchwords, and the like that have taken possession.
Can we please have order in here? Steve, I appreciate your comments.
And abused in his very being. Having thus become a mindless tool, the stupid person will also be capable of
Steve, do you want me to get the police officer downstairs?
Of seeing that it is evil.
Come on.
This is where the danger of
come on, let's, please can I have some order in here?
For it is this that can once and for all destroy human beings.
I appreciate your comments.
We've never had a 3-minute limit here.
Yep, well, I have a lot of people in the audience, and I would like to accommodate everybody's talking time.
4 minutes.
He's representing us.
You guys aren't going to talk to us, so we need to talk to you.
We're talking at you.
Yeah, this is a way for you to get through your thinking and maybe reformulate what you're doing. If you don't want to hear it, you want to stay how you are, which, do I need to say what I think?
No.
Excuse me, we had a meeting on Friday to get something working on this issue, and I believe we had a good conversation, and Tim Marin and a few other people met with us on Friday with their attorney and our attorney. We sat down, we talked about what
happened. We don't know what
And
happened.
there-
Tell us what happened.
Well,
Tell us what happened.
Can you please let me speak? They're going to form a working group and get back to us. I asked them for that, and they're going to facilitate that.
Where's the meeting? Where was this meeting?
It was Friday in Town Hall, and there was several people from the community that wanted to have a conversation with us. I invited them in to have a civil conversation, which we did, and
You can't have a meeting with a quorum.
we didn't have a quorum. There was myself,
Let him come back up.
Bruce Stadford, and Kara Back, my attorney, and there were several people from the Watermill community that met with us to discuss what happened, and they're going to form a working group, and they're going to reach back to us.
You might want to read it twice.
Listen.
You know, there's a lot of emotion here, and I can appreciate that. There's also a lot of misinformation here. Okay. You have to give a chance for people to work through a problem and try and find a solution to the problem. Okay. Excuse me. The information that I was given, okay, to make decisions as a trustee was that this land was not given to the town, as you're all painting that picture. Our understanding, or my understanding, was that it was given to the town as a deal, as a requirement for a larger subdivision. That's different. That's a different scenario. Excuse me. Please, you're asking for information, and we're trying to give you our information for making decisions. So if you let me speak, I tried speaking last time. I think that the decorum is important for us to solve this problem, okay? The endeavor here and the intent here was to achieve a good access point for the community. We sat 5 trustees. Everybody had their chance to speak what they felt. We had people feeling so strongly about it, they wanted to name it for certain people that were trustees for a long time. I obviously, things look better on paper sometimes than they look in reality, okay? But let me finish. So the endeavor is to protect trustee rights, trustee easements, trustee property. I sat here, okay, trying to raise fees for the trustees to defend public access and take care of the resources. And you know what? We were met with some obstruction to that, all right? We had to raise some fees, but we had to back down on some things. I listened through that whole thing. I heard people say, we understand that you need money to do these things, but find some other place to get that money. I heard that loud and clear. I listened to Mr. Sean from the Peconic Baykeeper and Mr. Haskell come here and talk about these folks that are encouraging all these partnerships between the charities and the businesses and the government. I get it. People are trying to do more with less. The intention here was to try and do something good. And I understand, believe me, I understand that you're not happy. And the board is trying to work through a scenario that works for everybody. And we're in the process of that now. But you have to let us speak and you have to let us work. So the understanding was that it wasn't just given away for these things that you're saying. That's not what I was told as a trustee. I was told that it was given as a requirement to a larger subdivision. Okay, now, number one. Number two is about freeholders. Freeholders are the whole town, not just Watermill, it's everybody. So the thought process was, can you get something that's good for everybody in the town, a good project so that they could have access? That's what the intent was. Not to shut anybody out, not to hurt anybody, whatever, okay? Excuse me. Please, you guys speak, and you're supposed to speak there, okay?
Scott, your 3 minutes are up.
Fred, listen. Let me address that, Fred. I'm very disappointed, okay? You sat at this table, Fred, and you know
that the people here are dedicated people, they get information, they try to make decisions. And the fact that you're treating this board so disrespectfully, quite frankly, I don't understand. You know what our protocol is, you know what we go through, and you know what we battle. There are still battles here that we are engaging in that were here when you were here, Fred. And you know what the board is up against. Excuse me, I'm speaking, Fred. Excuse me, Fred. Fred, I'm sorry, Fred, but I will not. I have worked hard for the trustees. I think this is an inappropriate discussion. I'm trying to give the people and the public information, and you all, can I tell you, Fred, I will debate you right now, okay? The bottom line is, we are trying to do what we have to do. It's not appropriate, Fred, it's not appropriate. Fred, it's not appropriate. It's not a kindergarten class. We are working on some of the most important legislation for this board to get on solid ground. Not that you did, Fred, that this board is doing to try and get proper funding from the town, from the CPF to take care of things like Mecox and Sag Pond on a consistent basis and deal with the environmental issues to free up our enterprise revenue to take care of protecting our resources and maintaining our property. We are, excuse me, we are trying hard. Excuse me.
You rant and rave?
I'm trying to give these people information free of the encumbrances of you tying my hands.
That's why they're here.
Scott, can I ask one question?
Excuse me.
Listen, I'm trying to get the point across. I'm trying to get the points across. We tried, okay? I hear that you're not happy with the project. We're trying to work through that now, okay? We have the message. We've got it, okay? We have to figure out the best way to get it so that it works for everybody. It's taken some time. Trustee Warner, Trustee Stafford have met with a working group to get some ideas together to find a solution to a problem. We could sit here all day and trade insults. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to solve anything.
Why did you take it in November if you can't afford it?
You see, things are getting out of context. The bottom line is not that we can't afford it. The bottom line is that we sat and listened to the public come, okay? The public came and said, listen, we know you need money to protect us, and we know you need money to take care of stuff, but try and find other ways to do that. Excuse me, I'm not going to have a debate with you. The bottom line was, because of the fact they tried to find a way to maintain a good access ramp and be good stewards of that area. Working with the neighbors. We are in lawsuits where we are battling with neighbors. When you have neighbors that want to come to the table and help us protect and defend access for everybody in this town, okay, and maintenance.
When did you get this property?
Scott, you're out of control.
I'm trying to explain to you,
When did
Ray.
you get this property?
I'm not out of control. I'm trying to give you good information. It just conflicts with your information.
It doesn't seem logical.
It is what it is, Ray.
Can I speak or not? I'm up here.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Clark. My name's Evan Gay, okay? I grew up in Watermill. I live in Bayview Oaks now, and I'm glad I do. You know, I gotta be honest with you. I would have loved to seen like a survey of before and after on a big screen here so everybody could see it like they did the overage picture in the Southampton Press, because you could get the reality of what changed down there, because it's huge. I'm in the contracting business. I'm a mason contractor. And I was down there watching these guys work in the rain to get that thing done on purpose, okay? You want to know why? Because they were scared they were going to stop work order because of us. You know what? Stop work order does no good because they're finished now. I told the guy that was building the piers down there I wouldn't mix too much Portland cement in those piers. You want to know why? Because you're going to have to rip them out in about a month. If you guys do your job, if you follow the locals, they need to come down. That guy's driveway needs to be put the fuck back where it came.
Excuse me, this is a public meeting. Please be respectful.
Okay? But really, to move the guy's driveway like 40 feet, I didn't roll it off. I didn't have my wheel with me. But I can go down there and get you that information if you don't have it. But you sure gave it away. Boy, did you give it away. 2/3 of the property down there. 2/3 of it gone. I don't know what the appraisal value of that stuff is, but, you know, I'm not a realtor like Horowitz is, you know? Good Lord.
Excuse me,
One of
let's
you
be
guys got
respectful,
any votes
please.
this year? I had enough.
Nothing's
I just have one question. I had a feeling that might happen.
Can you put your record?
Phil Gay again, Watermill. The word funding has come up. Scott, you've talked about that word several times in that time you spoke, and money came involved in your talk as well. Was there money exchanged from the homeowner to the trustees?
No, there's no money exchanged. The trustees aren't for sale.
Then- no, I just have one question. That was a yes or no?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So if there wasn't money, then what was the benefit? I don't understand. You spoke about funding, you talk about, you know, money, like, you know, it's an expense to upkeep it. I'll go down there, sign an agreement, I'll plow that thing every time it snows if you want. I got a truck and I got a plow. Somebody else will mow the lawn. You know, the maintenance, well, I can get a friend of mine that goes hunting with me, he'll dig out the ramp. And you don't have to, you got no maintenance. You know, I don't understand what happened.
Because Phil, yeah, and again, I'm going to try and give you the perspective on funding. You can't, you have to set a framework up for the town trustees so that they can operate sustainably, okay? We're burning through enterprise revenue on a regular basis every time we have to maintain a water quality and have a big problem down at Mecox. We haven't sold sand in years. We have threatening, pending, all kinds of problems in litigation, and we're working on an overall management plan for Mecox so that the water quality stays healthy and that it's managed properly and there's no lawsuits about erosion on the beach, so on and so forth. It's a big, heavy lift that involves us, the Army Corps, the Department of Environmental Conservation, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, on, okay? It requires substantial, sustainable funding to be able to do that and keep the trustees being able to use that enterprise revenue to take care of ramps and so forth. There's a lot of things that are on our property, on the trustees' property, that the town gets the revenue from to the general fund. There's a stipulation of settlement between the town trustees and the town board of how money is supposed to transact between the two so that we can operate and how we can enforce our laws. I spend my time entrenched in trying to fix the structural problems of the trustees so we don't have to be in these situations, okay? I worked very hard at that. It wasn't that it was the same discussion like the Peconic Baitkeeper came and had, where people are trying to find solutions where we can maintain things and not overly tax the taxpayer and the enterprise revenue. We've spent 7 figures plus defending public access with various different lawsuits that you can also read about in the Southampton press, okay? There are constant phone calls coming in for problems with ramps, decaying bulkheads, infrastructure that's falling apart. We've done everything we could to equip our Bay Constables that enforce and protect our resources as good as we possibly can. But I've looked at this from a sustainable basis, and it's structurally flawed, and we have to fix it. I am not in favor of these relying on the public for these things. I'm in favor of fixing the trustees once and for all and locking it down and taking care of it. I think we're this close. We're at a very unique time in history right now with this referendum that was just passed, with utilizing the 20% of the Community Preservation Fund for water quality initiatives. Because, in my view, under the law, it makes sense and benefits the taxpayer for everything that's in the trustee's wheelhouse that fits that law should be paid for out of that fund, freeing up the enterprise revenue so that we can have full-time, non-conflicted counsel. And what I mean by that is not shared with different responsibilities throughout the town. Okay? This is like running an independent government, and we are under fire constantly. We are doing the best we can. So I sat here and I listened to the public hearing of what people said when we were raising fees. So we gave it a shot. We tried. It obviously didn't work. Okay? So now we have to come together to figure out some way to reasonably unwind it. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to be emotional. I'm here to try and help you understand what and how and be part of the solution to this, because that's what we need right now, okay? So I hope that
I understand what you're saying, and I've understood it for years, and I've always said, I don't see how you guys do what you do without popping a cap in your ear. But the bottom line is, you chose to be an elected official, and this is a plate, this whole plate that you have to deal with every day, this job that's the town trustees, it's your job, and there's things that you all do, I know each and every one of you, there's things that you do that protect our rights, I know that. In this particular circumstance, it's a train wreck. And I'm glad to hear the word come out of Scott's mouth a few times, the problem. This is a problem, you know, people are upset. We're all upset, and there's an issue. And I'm glad you're trying to work through it. All the other things that you go through and the lawsuits and stuff like that, it's people. If it was 40 years ago, I bet you the trustees, your father would remember, I bet you there weren't all the lawsuits that were going on. I'll bet you money there weren't. And the more people that come out here, they want to change it to what they wanted. They wanted their Hamptons. And that guy down there changed that place into his Hamptons. And you took our Hamptons. That's all I'm
Bill? Bill? No, it's all right. I'm just saying, again, the intentions were good, okay? The intentions were so good that I had my president, who I respect to the end of the earth, feeling so good about getting a good project in public access. He wanted to name it after a trustee who spent a lot of time also in the fight, okay? And everybody looked at it, and on paper, it looked like it was okay, and there was no exchange of properties. It was just looking like plants and things were going to be, it was different. We get it, and we're trying to work through that right now. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater, I don't think is the right thing to do. And I think that things have to be, and what I mean by that is you have a lot of people here on this board that work very, very hard. They understand their responsibilities. They understand their fiduciary responsibilities. They do whatever it is that they can do. You can't always hit home runs, okay? You know, we've got memorializing resolution for historical legislation that would move the trustees into a much better position from not having to deal with these if everybody would come to the table fairly and realistically and say, we have to preserve our trustees. They hold the easement dating back and predating the formation of the country and protecting us all from our public access to the beaches. So we are working on things that are earth-shattering and historical. This has to be dealt with, and we're doing the best we can. We got you. So, you know, and we're also, you have to understand it, we're dealing with the facts that are given to us at the time to make these decisions. And sometimes it's easy to call the game on Monday when it was on Sunday, and that's kind of what we're doing here right now. And we're going to do the best we can to get a resolution.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do, and you know how I feel about you in particular, Scott, that I respect a lot of that you do and the hard work that you have for us, but you know that there's a problem now. When are we going to get, as a public, get the details on this private meeting that you had and know what exactly we can do as a community, the freeholders, how can we help you? And then my second thing is, when am I going to get my FOIL documents? Because obviously, it shouldn't take 30 days to get these documents. Can anyone tell me when?
You can contact the FOIL department, find out where they are.
You did already.
I already did. They said 30 days. Why is it taking that long? That's my
That's a
question.
question for the FOIL department.
Because at times in our office, we have as many as 6, 7, or 8 foils pending, so.
Right, but this is like a really important thing. I'm requesting documents that one person requested them, I can share with everybody in this room.
It is important, and to my understanding, Mr. Marin has met with, a couple of folks, and I don't know whether he's spearheading up, maybe funneling information to that working group, and then everybody can get around the table and try and, work through this thing. I think that would be the most helpful. I get emotional too. I get upset too. I'm a person, I have a full plate. I take it very seriously. I work 20 hours a day on this stuff, okay? So I think that a group has stepped forward to meet with the trustees to kind of spearhead and funnel that community's issues and comments and concerns and what they think and so on. I think if that group works together and we all remain respectful and productive, I think we can get some type of resolution that works for everybody here. But, continued, bantering back and forth, it's not going to solve
Well, I'm not
anything.
bantering, I'm just asking.
I get it. I think Mr. Maron's standing right next to you. I thought he came in, and I thought you had a productive meeting, and maybe you'll have a point person there or a few point people that could perhaps funnel it down. If not, you can call us, send letters. We're doing the best we can.
So,
Did Mr. Maron meet with you?
There are basically three options for us. Do nothing, bring it back to exactly where it was, which is virtually impossible because we've taken down old trees and changed the grade and everything. Or the third option is to work with the community and to come up with a plan that works with the community and works with the homeowner. It is really uncomfortable for me to sit on this side of the table because I know a lot of you people and I see your faces and I respect your passion, but we have to approach this logically and sensibly. I met with Tim on Friday. We had a good conversation, and I asked him to reach out to a few more other community members to make a working group, to come back to myself and Bruce Stratford, and to sit down and see if we could resolve this and move on. Tim, would you like to address this?
I think I have to.
not at all.
Yes, I did meet with Eddie and Bruce and the town attorney, Kara, correct? And my attorney, Lisa Gombrink, who I hired when this first started at my own expense. And it's such a complicated issue. There's an attorney. No? I thought you were. But there's so many moving parts, and as indicated, we do not have our FOIL request yet. There's so many pieces to this that my attorney has not been able to address in a logical way, and she is a very, very, very logical woman who I admire. And when we get the information and we can start to put down some logical issues, address it back to the board and say, look, these are the things we need to know, this is what we want to try and accomplish. And I will, now that I've heard everybody's sentiments today, try and put together a working group of interested community citizens to go forward. And I don't want anybody to think this is, number one, about Tim Maron. Got nothing to do with it. You will never, never see me running for that office or any office. My father told me when I first went to work for him, don't get involved in politics, because if you do, don't come to work. So that was the family mantra. The other things that we will try and accomplish is to create some system of disseminating to the general public how we're progressing with things. One of them, John Bennett, by the way, John just kind of joined us at the last minute. He was retained by the neighbor to the north of this property, so I understand. She contacted me, I don't have her name in front of me, but she contacted me last week, and then she went and retained John as her representative. So we do have a lot of people working on it. It's complicated, not going to happen overnight. So anyway, okay?
I'd like to address the FOIL request. I spoke with Attorney Kara just a second ago. It's a complex FOIL request. It's not a simple just look at the documents, photocopy them, and give them to the public. So we have the FOIL officer, Glenn, working on it right now, but there's a lot of material that has to be researched and put into this FOIL request. So just letting the public know that it's being worked on.
Hi, Kristen White, Southampton. I just have two observations and a suggestion. My first observation is that Trustee Horowitz spoke of everybody playing fairly. I think you need to drop the assumption that these people are playing fairly and not necessarily always get them the benefit of the doubt. Because I think that, to be politically correct, of course, not all of our summertime visitors are solely concerned with what's best for them. The majority of them have proved to act that way. And when you do go to a table with people who have different reasons for wanting things, just pay attention to who's getting, the bigger slice of the cake. My second observation is that in my time of paying attention to this board and what this board does and represents in our community, my impression is there is a veil of secrecy that goes on, and I'm not exactly sure why that happens. I do understand that when you're getting things done on a government level, there is a need sometimes to keep the public out of some decision-making processes. But in the past several years, prime example is what we're here speaking about today, and even when Mr. Horowitz mentioned the fee increase. When somebody first mentioned to me about the fee increase, my initial reaction was, why, how, why would they do that? But when reading the information and talking to people about why it was necessary, I thought that it was a great idea. Now, maybe if the public had had an opportunity to be part of the decision-making process, they wouldn't have been so against it. My suggestion is, I know that you spend a lot of money with a company called Chesterfield to open the inlet and close the inlet. I'm pretty sure that the town of Southampton owns several of each piece of equipment that's used to open and close the inlet. And I'm positive that you pay your CEOs and HEOs much less than Chesterfield does. So maybe in the future when we have one of these large-scale projects, maybe we can utilize some of the equipment and personnel that the town of Southampton already employs. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to make one comment about the equipment that Chesterfield uses down at Mecox and versus the town equipment. Those machines go right into literally into the seawater. And the longevity of those machines aren't very long. And they break down pretty frequently. I mean, Fred Habermeyer, he was the trustee of the area. He dealt with Chesterfield, Rambo, Mezaneski. Well,
Gillow, Chesterfield, and Mezaneski.
Yep.
Who's now Southampton
Yep.
excavating.
Some of the equipment operators would actually put their machines right into the surf to open the inlets up. The town is not going to take 100,000 or whatever the amount of the equipment and drop that into the ocean. I mean,
I understand.
And we work off the county contract, so we got the best prices for the equipment and for the operators that we can.
I understood that when they were doing the project in front of the Flying Point, the beach club there, and it was a private, and we went there and watched. The machines are working constantly because if they stop, they could break down. So I do understand that aspect of it, so thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. But I did just happen to, a couple of weeks ago, up to Peconic Landing and have a nice conversation with a gentleman named Mr. Charlton Halsey, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. He's in his 90s, and he's one of the last remaining, survivors of the old school watermill way of doing things. And he explained to me how he and one of his father's hired hands and a couple other men were able to open it with shovels in a couple hours. So maybe we should try that again if it's too expensive.
Rose Halsey, I just have a question. It seems like this is going to take a while to resolve. Where are people supposed to park since we've lost half of the parking down there? Are we supposed to park on the street? Or are we going to start getting ticketed? Because boating season is right around the corner. People are going to start paddle boarding, taking their canoes out. What is going to happen? Should we park in the gentleman's driveway since he got half of the land? I mean, seriously, this is something we have to think about because we don't want to be ticketed if we can't fit there, and we should be able to have some kind of a parking something or another. That's something you should really think about because it's right around the corner. Memorial Day is coming.
There are no parking restrictions on Rose Hill Road.
Anybody could park on Rose Hill Road. You can park, okay,
Along the street.
Along the streets?
along the
Yes.
streets.
How about his driveway? No.
I mean, why not? That's the,
Per hour.
thank you.
Hi, my name's Evan, and Evan Gay. I wanted to apologize for my language, okay? Ed Warner, I know him. Scott, I know you from just on the street and stuff. And you know what? I have a rotten temper when I get angry, and I'll apologize for that. But I am angered, and at the beach meetings, I think I got bleeped pretty bad down there, so I've gotten a little better at this, little. 2 weeks ago, I was in here, and I didn't get bleeped once. I did a good job of controlling myself. And, today wasn't one of them. Not feeling too good. I came from the dentist right here. Didn't hear what I wanted to hear over there. Not hearing what I wanted to hear in here. I have one question. Like, you guys are going to work on this, I'm sure. And I know I wouldn't want to do your job. No. No, hell no. But does anybody know, like, any kind of time frame? Like, is this going to take, like, 6 months to get resolved? Like, the longer you let that man own that property, or water his plants out there, or sweep his driveway, or mow his grass, his expenses are going up, 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 up. And when you tell him he can't have it anymore, he's going to document it all, and he's going to come here with a bill for everything, for the construction, for the maintenance, the irrigation, the electrician. I watched them all. I know how much that stuff costs. I bet you I could bid that job and come within 15,000 of whatever was done down there. Honest to God, if somebody gave me a landscape plan and I sat down for an hour, I could tell you what that thing costs to get done. And he's going to be really pissed when you go there and go, we made a mistake. We need it back. And, I'm sorry about my language. I really am. I apologize to everybody up there. But that's something to think about, because the longer he sits there, the
Thank
more
you.
he's going to get pissed when you turn the table around on him.
Go ahead, you want to talk? No, that's okay. I'll go last or
Scott, my question is,
Name again, sir?
Michael White, when did you guys get the deed for this property? Was it last year, November?
In January.
Well, it sounded like in the paper, they interviewed somebody and that you swapped this property last year for something in Flanders.
I think that was the prior trustee board. I think a prior trustee board gave some property to the town that they needed with a promise of something coming back.
Right.
That was before I was on the board.
So why
Eddie
would,
can speak to this.
why would the trustees take this property if they can't afford it? I mean, that's what I don't understand. I mean, either the trustees have to be, I think why people are so mad here is because you guys, and I mean all of you, that you've always been like the reasoning of like the regular person in this town, and I think that's the problem. I mean, all you guys are very easy to talk to and really into the environment. I think you just blew everybody's mind.
Mike, it's not that we took it in because we couldn't afford it. That's not things are getting a little out of context, okay? The property came in because the intent was to get a good project that he wanted to name after Trustee Schultz, to get a good boat ramp, okay? We worked very hard protecting the taxpayers' money. We watched the budget. Even with the fee increases, we were $40,000 down in the first quarter of 2018 versus 17. And because of the fact of the conversation that we had with the gatekeeper coming in, where everybody's trying to figure out ways to do more with less and find these relationships where it can work, it looked like there was the potential there to get what the board felt, since there is no restriction on parking on Rose Hill Road, that they could get a sustainable access point, a safe access point ramp, and have more people come and enjoy the waterway from the entire township. Okay? It's a double-edged sword. Sometimes people come to us and they say, listen, you know, we've got an access point here, but you guys are not maintaining it. Is it because the neighbors don't want you to maintain it because they don't want the public here? This was the opposite of that. We get it both ways as trustees. So here it was trying to get it and trying to do it in a manner by which it would be maintained. I get calls nonstop about ramps that get sand on them and trucks that are getting stuck. And we have, well, right now we have 2 full-time guys. We usually have 3 full-time guys and a part-time guy. Marine maintenance for the entire township. We're putting buoys in. We're fixing all types of things. We maintain trustee roads. It's a lot of work. So when you can perhaps entertain something like this, and it clearly is a problem, and we get that, but when you have something where it's like, all right, is public access going to be restricted? In no way, shape, or form can it be. You want a ramp, you want a safe ramp, you want a nice property, and you don't want to be fighting with the neighbors because we're spending tons of money in other places fighting with neighbors. So it looked like at first glance on paper that it could be something that supports maritime heritage, so you're getting more people into that waterway. You're not burdening the taxpayer, we're burdening the enterprise revenue stream where we're trying to do more with less. It looked like it ticked all the boxes to give this a shot, and there was no ownership. And let's be clear about that. We could pass a law in the Blue Book that says the agreement expires in 15 years as a catch-all if we can't work things out, whatever. There's no deed where this guy has any of that property. It's a boundary agreement and a maintenance agreement for his plants and those other items, okay? Not any land changing hands, nothing sold, nothing for sale. So that just shows me and shows the public again the greater need for a tax legislation and a tax line to fairly fund the trustees so they don't have to ever entertain these types of agreements, okay? And further strengthening the comprehensive intermunicipal agreement between the trustees and the town for revenues that are supposed to be handled and services that are supposed to be paid for by the town because we're 2 different entities, and that it's very clear and beneficial to the taxpayer to fund water quality initiatives and problems that fit the referendum that we all passed on the Community Preservation Fund. Out of that money, it's substantially more sustainable than enterprise revenue and free up that enterprise revenue for full-time counsel, non-conflicted, having a share where we can get what we need to move forward. So in the context, it's not like, why'd you take it because you couldn't afford it? It's not that. It's like you're looking at it, and you look at Q1, and you're like, well, whatever. Here's this agreement that's on the table. It looks like it could work. And again, it looks good on paper, and then when you go see it in person, it's stark. We get it. So we're trying to work on that, but it's a learning procedure, all of this. You know, it's a huge responsibility on this board, and it's a highly misunderstood board. And owning the bay and having to protect the resources and the economic engine of the town, which is the easement that's on the outer beach through 26 miles. It's not held by anybody other than the town trustees, okay? Crest of the dune to the high tide mark to be defended by the town trustees, even in the villages, So we're people that want to try and block that easement in any way, shape, or form. They have to come to the town trustees to fight that battle, okay? So our responsibility is to make the strongest board of trustees that there is, clear up miscommunication, get information to the public, education. So it's about the context, all right?
I understand that, but you know, there's some other things that don't make any sense. You know, people are foiling things, okay? This should be in county center. If this is some kind of deed or something to impact the deed, this should be on county center. Is it in county center now?
I don't know if it's been recorded yet, but you can certainly take a look.
Well, why wouldn't it be recorded? You record like the next day.
It may be recorded.
Okay.
Take a look.
So where, if you have this deed, no, I mean, don't shake your head. I mean, I've been doing land use for 30 years. I know what I'm talking about. You know, you should have the deed, and you should not make these people wait 30 days for it.
There was no deed.
Is there an agreement that was
There
written
was
that's-
no deed.
Okay, but you had to file something on the deed, correct? So it's on the deed.
get my card, and I'm happy to talk to you about this over the telephone. You can give me a call, and you and I can have a conversation about this, but we should not be holding all these people up for this.
We're trying to get the answer of what, this, if you have a piece of land, okay, and it affects your title, okay, it's very simple to get this. You could go to county center, in 10 minutes you could pull this up. So where is it? Did you put something on did you put it on his property and this property? Are you encumbering both of them?
No.
You're not.
No, it's our property.
And how do you know he doesn't have eminent domain? He's going to be driving over it for 15 years. Where's the agreement? Did somebody look at it? I mean, it's a specialized part of law, and it's not, you got to, listen, you got a $1,000 attorney on the other side that thought of this pretty well. And I could guarantee there's some stuff in there that would make you sick, because they're smart, they're intelligent. That's why they make $1 million a year practicing law, and that's what he's got.
But Mike,
he paid $40 million for that piece of property, and you got zero.
But Mike, we're sitting
zero.
We're sitting here because we didn't listen. Let's not go back to this debate. All right.
But no, you're trying to divert everybody
I'm not trying
here.
to divert. I'm trying to.
You're telling us about how expensive. You're talking
Mike,
about
I'm trying to be productive in a conversation.
You're not
We're not
being
going to solve
productive.
that today. We can't speak for the county center of what's filed and what's not filed.
I'm asking her. She doesn't know. You don't know. You don't know what's filed. Do you know if it's filed in his deed or both deeds? Do you know? You don't know. I mean, you want me to call you and waste more time of my life because you did something silly. You don't even know. Why don't you answer the question? Did you encumber both deeds? What did you do?
Because Mike, listen.
Mike, our attorney said that she would speak to you after the
She
meeting.
doesn't even have a FOIL. Nobody has a FOIL request gone back.
There's a
Mike,
FOIL
Do you know what you
request
signed?
to...
Did you sign the deeds?
Yes, I signed the deeds.
So you signed both deeds?
There's no deeds, it's a maintenance
It's an
agreement.
encumbrance.
It's a maintenance agreement.
All right, but it goes on the deed, okay? It goes on the deed of the property, or you have nothing. The only way you can encumber property is on the deed. So did you guys sign deed restrictions on both properties?
There was no deed restrictions.
So then you didn't file something in county center.
Listen, this is not an interrogation, okay?
I'm asking a simple law question.
But you're asking a legal question at a time to a governmental body when there's already attorneys that are involved, and
What
basically.
attorneys? What?
You had several attorneys.
Okay,
You
that's
had
great. They're not my attorneys,
Mike,
and they're not these
but Mike, whenever there is the rule of thumb is when there's potential litigation, the board has got to be very careful about what it says and when. And please, we're trying to give you information, but you also have to have respect for the decorum and the working ability of the board. If you have a FOIL rather, you file for the FOIL. Whatever the prescribed time frame is, if it can be expedited, that's fine. Nobody's hiding information. We'll get you whatever information is that you need, but to sit here and try and browbeat it.
Do the FOILs go to the law, the attorneys?
No.
No, they don't sign off on them?
No, there's a separate department.
It's not, the group is.
Scott, I came up here and you gave me a 20-minute speech on that you have no money. I mean, we get it. We get that.
I didn't give it to you, I'm giving it to
All right,
everybody.
they get it. You understand you have no
People
money.
understand, but you can't, we're trying to give information so that you
But you're
understand the
not giving any
perspective.
information. They don't know anything more than they knew when they started.
I think that they do.
They know nothing. You basically, have you guys ever met with this guy in person? Never. Never had a phone call from him. Never took money you never took any political money from the homeowner?
No.
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 And you never talked to him?
Never.
I did,
You did.
and I didn't take a dime.
All right. Well, you had a conversation about this property.
I think we're done with the conversation.
Did you?
We had a lot of conversations
About the property?
about a lot of things.
Oh, that's good. Listen.
Hey, Mike, just want to make one thing clear. We did not take the property to name it after another trustee who was on the board. We took the property because the town owed us a piece of property, which we gave them years ago. The trustee who the other three talked about naming it after him, he did not want it. I found out about it, that it was going to be named on the street, okay? It was a lack of communication on this board back in the end of the year. A lot of this information, I found on the street. I found out more information about the meeting on Friday from Chip Mound, Tim's son, okay? I think, I've been saying this for a long time, when these other trustees have meeting, the one trustee who speaks does not speak for all of us.
Right.
Okay, we each have our own ideas, our own thoughts, and this is one of the things how we got where we are now, okay? You ask a question, you may not get the right answer. They tell you what you want to hear.
Listen, Billy, I've known you since I'm 15 years old. You're one of the most honest people I know. I mean,
Thank you.
really, you are. I mean, I worked for you at one time. I mean, you're a straight guy. You know, you've always been worried about the environment. You've always done things out of your way. I'm not questioning that, but what I'm questioning is, when you have a conversation with somebody like this, you should tell us the substance of it, you know, and that's only right. And if you have his phone number, or you have him texting you, or whatever, you should disclose that to these people. They deserve it, because if you're the one who did this, you're making these guys look bad. And I know Ed Warner's not a dishonest guy. I know Scott's not dishonest. I don't know you. I don't know. But I know these guys are real baymen, real guys that care about the area. And I think if you're having secret meetings with these guys, you should just divulge it. I mean, this is wrong. That's wrong. And for you to shake your head like, who gives a crap what I talked about is not
Excuse me, can we move the meeting along?
Yeah.
I appreciate your comments.
Mike.
Francis Adam Chesky. Everybody's ticked off. We're trying to figure out why this was done. I was the one that came into the meeting a few months ago because I didn't like the fees going up on trucks and the ramp permits. I agree. I said no. I didn't like you raising the prices, and I didn't want you to raise the prices because I think the freeholders need a voice. It's just like this. We need a voice before we do anything. And then if you explain to us why you need the money or why you're raising the fees, I think we can come along and get together and think about it and say, okay, that's a good idea. All right, you need money to do this, you need money to do that. But to take away this piece of property and lease it to somebody, you're saying that you want to encourage more access to the water. You just decrease the access to the water. I don't know if any of you came down this winter when Mecox was frozen and came to this very special place that the Halseys deeded or gave to the town. There wasn't a square inch that you could go because the ice boaters were there, packed in that spot. And everybody had no problem launching boats. I mean, there was a little hill sand there, like months ago or whatever, that was dug out. A lot of guys that have boat ramp permits, four-wheel drive. Ed, some of you guys drove on Mecox by the cut and launched your boat from the bay on the ocean side into the bay from the beach, four-wheel drive. So I don't get why this was done, why this was deeded over or leased over to this gentleman to decrease our access to this property. It just baffles everyone. I think everybody's just baffled that why this was done. It's like the property now has decreased. It's a single lane going in and coming out. I went there yesterday to look at the property because it said, you know, watched some of the meeting on TV, and it says, well, let's see what the people think after it's done and go down and look at it, and it's horrifying. I mean, it's used to be a nice semicircle with grass in the middle. It's all natural. You have picnics in the middle of the area. Now you can't. There's crushed clamshells and a one-lane driveway to the water. I get that it's maintained now, plowed out, but there was always good access there. There was always good boat access there. And I don't think anybody really had a problem. There might have been a little sand berm there, but anybody that launches a boat there has four-wheel drive trucks usually. and it shouldn't have been a problem. Did anybody come to the town trustees and say, oh, there's a pile of sand in front of the boat launch and I can't launch my boat?
Yes, we have letters to recognize the pile of sand. And just to let you know, I've gotten stuck on that ramp, so.
Okay.
It has been a problem in the past, and we did send our marine maintenance guys down there
But that's
on a
just
regular basis
basically-
to clean it off, and within a couple of days, it would fill back up. So,
And you take the sand and you disperse it to some of the homeowners or wherever?
no, we put it on Mohawk to fill in the giant valley that's been created
I
by
didn't see
another
any of that
project.
this winter because, as you know as well, I'm a duck hunter at Mohawk there, and I almost ripped my front tire off the front end of that, and I thank the Halseys walk down. I see them pretty much every day when I was there, and that gully was not filled at all when it was hunting season.
Well, just to let you know, that property on the end of Mohawk was given away by the town with nothing back. Nothing was given back. That whole the right-of-ways on both sides of that road with those trees in the Belgian block, the town highway department gave it to the property owners. And once you park one vehicle down there, you can't turn another vehicle around.
Absolutely.
And the same thing at Horsemill, and that's why we wanted to preserve and protect the property at Rose Hill so that we would always have an access point into Mecox Bay.
But that always was an access point, though. It was an access point. You just decreased the access point now. Before, like I said, if you went down there in the wintertime and you seen the ice boats there, everybody was parked there. There was a lot of parking there. Now there's not that much parking there. You're going to get a couple of hunters there in the wintertime and a couple clammers, and then it's bound up. And then you're going to have to wait for somebody to come in to go out. I mean, I don't know what your understanding was, that it would be better to let this guy encroach on the property just to do maintenance on it. We lost. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I know you're in a tough spot, but this is what.
Cindy Marin. The only thing I would like to say is perhaps if we ever get this back, you may want to think to name the park Halsey Park.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't think Mr. Schultz wanted his name on that.
Fred Havemeyer, Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. I sat on this board for almost 12 years, and I've been to 2 meetings and listened to the uproar that's gone on here, and I don't recognize this board. It's not a functioning board. It's not functioning for the freeholders of Southampton Town. It's not a user-friendly board. We appear to have a bureaucrat on steroids that is going to steer everything in a new direction with enterprise funds and this, that, and the other thing. But the bottom line is, what's happened here on this issue is a poster child of things gone wrong. It is a symbol of how bad things could get with an elected board. It's shameful. I said that at the last meeting. Let me go back a little bit. When I was on the Board of Trustees, I was in charge of opening Mecox, which is really a very interesting task. It's a dynamic area, and it's a fascinating area. I also had the fiscal responsibility as a trustee of getting the best deal for opening it as far as money goes and contractors goes. And I worked out a situation with the excavating contractors as a group that it would be $1,000 flat fee to open Mecox, and excavators that were interested would apply, and we would do it on a rotating basis. First, second, third, etc. That worked for years. Okay, let's look at this supposed deal for Mecox Park or Halsey Park or whatever. You traded away 2/3 of a assessed office, $2 million property. So you traded off maybe $1.3, $1.4 million of property to the adjacent property owner. You still own it. He can use it exclusively. No one else can use it. Just he can use it for a period of 15 years with an automatic renewal. You gave him the property. Front out. You're not going to get it back. It's gone. It's freeholders' property. Now, let me go back to the rationale. You did that in order to create an enterprise fund to cut down on the costs for dredging a tiny little ramp, which has been there for, I believe, 90 years, for cutting the grass, which is nominal. I mean, that could be done for
30 seconds.
$50, for doing the snow removal in the blizzard that we had last winter. 18 inches of snow fell at Bridgehampton on my place. It cost me $150 to have my 600-foot-long road plowed at my property. All right. Say you're going to maintain the ramp twice a year. If I can get Mecox dug, which takes hours and hours and hours, for $1,000, you guys can get the ramp dug for a lot less than that, even free if the community pitches in. The rationale behind what you've made this trade on it's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty. It's the most irresponsible, fiscally obscure situation that anybody could ever see. This is not a functioning board, and this particular situation proves it. There has to be massive changes within the thinking pattern of this group of 5 people. I don't see it coming, but it's got to happen. Maybe it'll happen in the electoral process. Maybe it'll just sweep the debris out of here and bring in new people. Maybe some of the people that spoke here will run for office and give us trustees that we can embrace and say, hey,
4
you
minutes.
people are doing a really good job. Is it 30 seconds?
You're running at 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Yep.
Oh, well, I'm over. Thank you for the extra minutes. Let me wrap up and say it's a travesty what's going on, not only with this situation, but with this board. And it won't correct itself soon, the board, it's because the personalities are here and set. But this issue with the park that this wonderful family gave generations ago, that can be solved, and it can be solved quick. Thank you very much.
For the public's edification, though, the $1,000 at Mecox is not realistic today. When I first came into office, one of the first things that we experienced, as some of you may recall this, was the town attorney coming down to seize the checkbooks of the trustees because the lawsuit was lost that said that the trustees did not have the right, because they were not following all types of procedures, that they did not have the right to control their own finances. That was lost. The trustees then had nothing, okay? So we had to unwind and rebuild the trustees' finances and their ability to operate, and we're trying to strengthen that. We cannot operate the way Mr. Havermeyer was describing at this point in time, based on the ramifications of all of these lawsuits, okay? We have to function in a certain way, which is why we have to formalize the finances. I understand the back in the day, okay? It's a different world that we're dealing with here now. We still have some of the lawsuits that we're dealing with that were there when Fred was there, okay? It's completely different, okay? And it's not about just creating a small enterprise fund. It was just giving some relief on that monies that we do collect from the permit fees so we can continue to battle these things while we unwind how we're going to fund the trustees. There's misinformation all over the place. And when you're sitting in this seat, you have to deal with the actual facts, not the facts that you want to put out there to the public, which is why I'm speaking now, okay? It can't be done that way anymore. We're just going to get involved in another lawsuit and another problem. We have to pay a prevailing wage. We have to use contracts, so on and so forth, okay? It's a totally different ballgame that's going on now, so we can protect this board so that it can protect the public and its access rights and resources, okay? So just so that you know. I'm not having a debate with you, Fred. This is where we're at.
I'm not going to debate you at all. I'm just going to say simply that Mr. Horowitz has a unique talent to make something simple overly complicated. Thank you.
There's nothing that's simple about it. It's the most misunderstood board that there is, okay? And that's the problem. I think that the more people that we can educate that can understand exactly what our responsibilities are and the importance, I think we'll be better off. It is not simple. It is very complex.
Is there anybody else who would like to address the board?
Rich Juminski, I live in Southampton Village. When this property was deeded from the town to the trustees, nothing was researched from your lawyers, the town lawyers, that said there's a covenant on there, that this was donated and had stipulations on it?
It's to the contrary.
No covenants.
There's no covenants.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
There are no covenants.
Well, it was given to the town
As
as a park.
As a part of
No, it was not given to the town as a park. That was all researched beforehand. It was not given to the town as a park.
And Mr. Maron's got a paragraph that states
Okay,
how it was
well,
given.
I'm misinformed.
It was-
Oh,
I
thank
gave it to you that, oh,
No,
you can take it?
no, you have to foil for it.
Well, I read it to you, so.
It was acquired by the town during a subdivision process.
That's the first I've heard of that. As of right now.
Yeah.
Well, earlier this.
Yeah, we tried, yes, okay. If no one else has anything,
Yeah, no, enough.
you've already had your 3 minutes. Can you, if there's someone else in the audience, please let them speak. Like- No, we have a whole entire meeting to go through. So if there's another gentleman that would like to speak, I'd like to hear him. Please?
It's not how it works.
doors away.
No, I would like to have
I could have been
everybody.
over. I got one thing to say. Listen. So now that you did this, you set a precedent, okay? So even if that was a subdivided piece that was given off, which has covenants, when you give away a piece in a subdivision, it's for recreation. It's not to give to anybody, deed to anybody or anything, because I've given away property in subdivisions. So I don't believe that part. The second part is, well, you're saying one thing, and you're saying that Mr. Maron knows, and he evidently never even heard that until just now. So that's number one. So every piece of property that's ever been preserved in a subdivision is under siege now, okay? Because no, wait a minute, whoa. In law, okay, why don't you have the attorney tell you guys, you just set a precedent, okay? Now if I live next to a piece of property that's preserved, are you gonna stop me from doing it? I'm gonna find out, I'm gonna put an application. How about I put one in now for the other half? I'd like to have that other half, and I could share it with all of them. Because you just started something that's never been done, and it's something that my dad, he predicted this was gonna happen 25 years ago. He says, you watch what happens with all this preserved land. He says they're going to be giving it away, they're going to be encroaching on it, they're going to be putting driveways through it, and you just did it.
Yes.
Right.
What?
No, we got the property already with encumbrances on it. We didn't get this property free and clear and clean. We accepted it with the encumbrances that the town board agreed to prior to us getting it without any recourse for the public.
What were those?
Well, I believe it was
It's encroachment.
substantial encroachment, so it came.
Like what
It
encroachments?
came already encroached with landscaping and other,
It was tiny, it was about 1 foot.
whatever it was already
Landscape-
encroached. for nothing.
First off, that's from the other owner. You need
Prior
10
owner,
Okay.
prior board.
No, you need 10 years, okay? You need 10 years, and landscaping is not an encroachment. I don't know where you heard that from. A fence is, okay? A fence. What, that's not true? I mean, listen, if you want to debate, listen.
We're not into debate.
You don't want to hear the truth. You know, you want to lie to everybody and tell them, a tree is not an encroachment, okay? If you plant a tree on your neighbor's property, that's not your property, okay? Only a fence can encroach, and it takes 10 years, and it's a very complicated process. So you had no encroachments because you didn't build that property that long ago, all right? The first owner did not build that property that long ago, and those other encroachments have allegedly, they've been added over the last couple of years. So you had no encroachments. So that's a lie, okay? That's a lie. Are you telling me this, you telling me trees are encroachments? Is that your legal opinion? Yeah, no comment, that's right. You got bamboozled, and you got $1,000 an hour attorney just took you to the cleaners, all right? Because if they told you you had to go and give that property because of an encroachment, those haven't been there for 10 years.
No.
Well, it's different now. You just told me it was an encroachment. You said there were encroachments. What are they? What are the encroachments? Seriously.
We're not having a debate.
No, I know, you don't want to have a debate. You're waiting till everybody here quiets down, it goes away.
No, we're trying to resolve the issue. We're not going to resolve the issue like this, back and forth. We're
Scott,
going
you
to try
did
and resolve
something,
the issue.
Scott, you did something sneaky, okay?
Nobody did anything sneaky yet. I want to tell you right
Why
now.
wouldn't you tell the Halseys what was going on?
What are you talking about?
Why wouldn't you? No, seriously. When you had this meeting, why wouldn't somebody go to the Halsey and say, hey, listen, we want to tell you what's going to happen with property that you gave. We just want your blessing on it. Why didn't you do that? That's all. They would have told you no. That's why you didn't go to them.
Mason Parks, live in Watermill.
I'm sorry, the last name again?
Parks.
Parks, thank you.
It just seems that the major issue here going forward, this case and others involved, is a issue of funding from the trustees not having enough money to fight against other lawyers, do cases and everything. Is there a way that, as a community, Watermill and Southampton can start a fund or something that goes to the trustees that is designated to handle certain parks or go to the longevity of preserving and maintaining places such as the boat launch and stuff that can't be touched by other segments of the government?
Well,
back in the last fall, I had a list of properties what the trustees owned and what the town owned, like rhododendrons, mecox, Scholar Pond Road, which we found out we did not own. The town owns it, to turn them into parks. Because once you turn them into parks, that's it. You cannot touch them. You cannot give them away. You cannot lease them. I wanted to do that. And I brought it to the board here. Ann was not here. Not one board member was supportive of it. If we had done this on this piece of property, this would have never happened. Sometimes I feel like I should be sitting over there, not here. Yes, I did make a mistake on the vote, okay? I did have a hard time getting the copy of the layout plan. I asked for it when Phil called me. Okay, I asked town attorney, she gave me the lease, the agreement, this and that. We could not find it in the office. I kept on asking. Okay, I thought I had to foil it myself. Okay, I got it finally the last meeting when it was up here. That's the first time I really saw it.
Gotcha.
Make a mistake, I realize that. We have to correct the problem.
Thank you for saying that, and I mean, again, thank you for, like everybody said, thank you for addressing it, that it is a problem, but what I was more going towards was that, like, in Watermill, we just raised, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but we just raised $1,700 in 6 hours from Maureen's Haven, just selling pottery off of a table. So if there's, like, something that we can donate to as a community that we know where the funds go, is there something... I guess it seems like it would give, like, the freeholder more of, like, a...
That's the tax line legislation. The tax line legislation will be clear and will be transparent and accountable. It puts a lot more emphasis on how that funding comes in. It takes it away from being so arbitrary. Okay, it takes it away from political will. It's a calculation. It comes in, and the same strict accounting that's on the town board or any other government would be placed on that tax line the same exact way. Assemblyman Thiel's working on this with us right now. There's a memorializing resolution that we've been trying to get to pass here today so that we can get this ball moving. We have a lot of momentum behind us because this problem has been recognized not just by us here in the room, but by a lot of people throughout this community, okay? It's very complex and it's highly misunderstood. It's got to get through the New York State legislature, and it's very misunderstood issue, okay? That would be a big help because between that and the fund that already exists, the Community Preservation Fund, being able to utilize that money, part of that money, for things like the MECOX management plan. Right now, the trustees' money that they get from 4x4s and all this other stuff is used for that, when by law it should be used for something else, which frees us up. Okay? There's a lot that we've been doing, okay, working hard to fix this problem. This is a black eye. We're all not happy with this, but we need to fix the problem. All right? We're trying to do that, but we're also trying to fix the bigger underlying issues, the structural issues that have to be fixed. Equally as important. Okay?
Okay.
Some of the lawsuits, if you bring a lawsuit on us, the insurance could cover it. If we bring a lawsuit on you, we have to pay out of our own pocket. We either have to have our own funding for it, or we have to go to the town board for extra funding for it.
So you're not allowed to accept funding from private residents for...
I would not do it because Fred, he raised money for a dredging project, and I have no idea where the money is.
Okay.
Disappeared.
It disappeared,
It
basically.
just completely disappeared.
They said
I
they
was
used
just
it
wondering
here.
if there was a
and
way
then
that, like,
That money was-
everyone and I know could just help in a way so that y'all could fight so.
It didn't disappear. The money didn't disappear.
Your thought is great because it's the beginning of working together.
Because, I mean,
So
I know
thank
there's
you for that.
the Watermill community, people that weren't even from Watermill came together to help and support a contribution that they've never heard of. And I know that there's support that if it's shown that it will go to some use, that I'm sure there's like outpouring.
That's great, but you can't fund something as important as the Board of Trustees with that. You could fund a cause, an immediate need, but when you're talking about something structural that has to remain in place, like Bill said, if we institute something, if somebody starts blocking the beach, all right, and now we have to go after this person because they're blocking public access, we're going to have to fund that. And like somebody else alluded to, they have $1,000 an hour attorneys, okay? That's what we're up against, all right? So that's the whole thing about defending public access for all the freeholders in commonality. You have to have a big pocketbook to do that. We're in situations and have been in situations where we need to take actions, and there's no sustainable funding source if we decide to go. We have to set that up, okay?
So the money is coming out of wherever it is coming from to pay to have this stuff done. I mean, I'm not trying to accuse anyone. I'm just trying to learn just as much as anyone else. But if there was someone that were willing to create a company or something pro bono to just do it for free or do it for like pennies on the dollar, could you pay them instead of paying the companies that you pay to just clear it and do everything?
We're going into some areas that government we really can't go into. There is a solution to the problem that we're working on now with memorializing resolution today and legislation that's going to be working through the Assembly and the State Senate that will help us. And when we work it out with the town with a comprehensive intermunicipal agreement, hopefully successfully, between that, the enterprise revenues that the trustees can derive from our various activities, and a substantial amount of our expenses that fit water quality initiatives under the referendum of the Community Preservation Fund could solve the problem, okay? We're right on the cusp of solving this problem, which is what we've been focused on. This is an important issue. We've also been working on other very important issues, very complex. So we're here. We're here, and we're going to make, hopefully, history by bringing this board to where it needs to be so that it can do the job for the generations.
I definitely hope that happens. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know a lot about the law. I'm just trying to learn as a citizen.
You know what?
How I can help.
I can appreciate that people here, they're upset. I'm upset. We're all upset. But the bottom line is, we also got to look at some good things going on. A lot of people working hard to do good things. You can't just tear the whole thing down because one project, went bad. And who knows if it went bad, because we're in the process of trying to remedy that. I don't think it's a good idea. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, I think it's a bad idea to continue to tear down the Board of Trustees. I think the Board of Trustees has done the best job that it could here with what it has, okay? Did the best that we could to work with all the different regulatory authorities that we need to work with and be successful with to protect the environment and protect public access. We've done what we could to work with all the departments in town government, and we did the best we could with trying to educate, okay? This project has gone sideways, it's very clear, but the board is also going to work hard in trying to remedy that to the best possible solution that there is, okay? Based on that, there's nothing more. The insults and all of this, it's not helpful.
I agree.
Trying to solve the problem.
I'm not trying to point fingers or anything. I'm just trying to help in any way I can. I'm just someone, I don't make enough to donate a lot of money. I just want to help in any way possible, just like everybody else. So, is there like a card I can get from someone, get in touch with someone?
Yes.
As a community, like a community person, I just want to help in any way possible.
James is the contact person in our office. He'll give you a contact email, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mason.
Ray Jaminski, 28 Skinner Street, Southampton, lifelong resident of Southampton, born and raised here. You know, I just see a trend that's happening here in which the rich are coming out here and saying, I don't have enough front yard. I'd like to get a hold of that Halsey property to enrich my property, room to park for my guests and all that. So how do I get it? A little bit of money under the table or whatever?
You're saying stuff that isn't true.
Okay.
There's no money under the table.
Perhaps not to you people. Perhaps not to the board. I'm not saying that you. Possibly, but I think that this transaction happened years ago with past administrations. Just a thought. And I think everybody in this room agrees with me. They smell a skunk. They smell that something is wrong. They feel in their hearts that there's something wrong. In their souls, there's tears here. There's a great deal of emotion. And we're looking at things such as what's happening to our beaches and the people building these billionaire homes and saying that they don't want us to take and drive on their beach. Is Andy still here? He can attest to that. It's a shame because when I grew up, we could go to these beaches and enjoy them with our family. I was widowed at a young age with children that were a year and a half and 3.5 years old. And the only place that not only place, but a place that we could go to enjoy ourselves as a family would be to go to the beach, go fishing and picnicking. We're going to lose that too. Next thing, unfortunately, the loss of the White property east of here. I know that was a bad transaction. They kind of fell into a trap. But here's a family that was basically destroyed. This is something that they were going to inherit. Gone forever. And this guy did not even have the gall to say, hey, let's work something out. Let's see if we can get this property. No, it's mine. I want it and I want it now. Get the hell out of here. Simple as that. It's what's going to happen here too. This guy's going to say, the board gave it to me and it's mine. Now 15 years, I'm going to be dead and gone. Nope, everybody's going to forget about it. Or if it turns over, the next property owners will own that. So then we come time to the last meeting you, the board said, at least 3 of you said, that you made a dire mistake. This young lady admitted to it. Ed, you did. You just sat there with a blank look on your face as always. And Bill Pell even admitted to it. And he got kind of emotional about it too. Heartfelt, community, and you let us down. You really, really let us down. Let's go on. My next note here is, you said that you wanted to put Mr. Schultz's name on that property. I'll be damned if he wanted his name on that property. I've heard that he does not want his name and reclined to have his name put on that.
That was long before this all started to transpire.
That was the
Okay.
intention.
Guys, you screwed up big time. I mean, big time. This is going to be history in the books of the trustees. Now, the interesting part, all you people here, it's going to take time, but we're going to come up to another election cycle. How many of you people are going to vote for this board of trustees? They're not getting my vote, and some of these people on here are good friends of mine. My heart's broken by their decision, and they're saying that we're going to work something out. BS. Nothing's going to happen. It's just going to get swept underneath the rug. Time will take and tell no tales. And who's going to suffer by this?
You need to address the board. You need to address your comments to...
I don't think that's,
Yes. Okay.
I'm addressing you and the
You're
board.
speaking to the audience. You need to address the board.
Yeah, but there's decorum to public meetings and respect, you know.
There's Robert's Rules of Order.
And that's,
It's the whole thing is,
It's not Robert's Rules of Order.
absolutely.
well, I guess I've read a different Robert's rules. But anyway, people, you have disappointed our community. I can't go down there on a Sunday afternoon and go ice boating. There's no room. This year, we couldn't park at the bulkhead on Flying Point because there was open water there. We couldn't go to Horse Mill. There was open water there. And right in front of the ramp there was water to the east of it. But there were probably, when I was there, was probably about 40 boats. So that meant 40 cars and trailers to get these boats on the ice. Can't happen again. You're only going to get 2 or 3 people, 4 people down here to launch. Then what do you do? Yes?
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. I've listened to you for 2 meetings, and I said I was going to have a meeting, which I did last Friday, and we formed a working group, and I said we would try to resolve this.
Let me ask one question. Do you think that we people of the town of Southampton will ever get that property back so that we could use it the way it was?
I can't answer that because I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I said I would work on something, and I'm committed to it, and I've already had a meeting on Friday.
Well, I will bet you $100 to your buck that you're not going to succeed in doing anything. Thank you.
Ed, may I address the board very briefly? Bill brought up something that I wanted to emphasize, and it goes to my comments about going forward, having a full inventory of holdings, both on the trustees as well as the town board, because I can tell you with certainty there are physical encroachments that are occurring that is slowly obliterating public access. So I think at this juncture, particularly with this issue, it behooves the board to really engage in Mr. Pell's recommendation to inventory and then consider designation of parkland. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes. I'm going to start with the application. Oh, no. Ann, would you like to pull up your Boy Scout? Or do you want to do that at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, we could do it. Sure, you can do it out of order.
Yeah.
I need a break.
Before I leave, could you update us and brief us on what's going to happen next? What is the timeline and what's going to happen from now on to resolve this situation with the Halsey Park?
I met with a few of the community, a group from your community last Friday. I'm going to talk to the FOIL officer, see if I can't facilitate getting the FOIL out quicker. There's a lot of information that was asked for, so once that is accomplished, I will give it to Tim Marin, and he will disperse it amongst his group so they can look at it with his attorney, and then as soon as he feels comfortable reaching back to me, we'll continue the meeting, have another meeting. So I can't give you, if I could give you an actual timeline, I would, but I can't.
All right.
So, I mean, I will, and Tim will keep everybody in the community posted.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
You just want to ask him to come up?
Yes.
Ray Wellen from Watermill as well. I'm just wondering why there's still no responses to why no permits were posted. I know to get anything built on the farm, we need to get a lot of permits. It takes a lot of time. I go down there all the time. I never saw any permits, and we still haven't figured out why there was no permit necessary for that kind of work. Also, I don't understand why the homeowner is supposed to fertilize his lawn when he's right on the water. It seems like it keeps getting repeated in articles. I don't know why that would be such a priority. So, I don't know. It's just frustrating sitting in the audience, kind of just going in circles. And I understand you guys are doing your best, but, you know, we spend a lot of our days down here. We're not getting paid to do this. We're just trying to make sure that nothing is happening behind closed doors that we don't know about that has already happened. So, thank you, and I hope that we figure this out.
Thank you. Ann, would you like to pull them up?
Sure. Zane, would you like to come up? You can sit right here. Really? Okay. On behalf of the Southampton Town Trustees, we'd like to present Zane Tyler Maddock with a letter of commendation for his efforts in helping to restore habitat and increase shoreline resilience by planting beach grass at Tiana Beach in Hampton Bays. Zane, along with members of his scout troop, his family and friends, planted 1,800 plugs of beach grass on a raw, windy day at the end of March. The group for the East End served as Zane's mentor for this project. Zane, who's 12 years old and is a 6th grader at Southampton Intermediate School, is a member of Boy Scout Troop 58 and has been since March of 2017. He's been a Cub Scout since he was in 1st grade. Zane set his sights high. As a result of his involvement with Scouting, he discovered an environmental conservation award called the William T. Hornaday Medal. According to the Boy Scouts of America, the William T. Hornaday Awards program began in 1914 and was created to recognize those who made significant contributions to conservation and environmental awareness. Dr. Hornaday was the director of the New York Zoological Park, and he was the founder of the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., and he was a leader in saving the American bison from extinction. This award represents a substantial commitment of time and energy while learning about the meaning of conservation and an environmental ethic. Any project undertaken must be based on sound scientific principles and guided by a conservation professional or a well-versed layperson. The award often takes months to complete. The goal of this awards program is to encourage and recognize truly outstanding efforts undertaken by Scouts and to encourage the understanding and the practice of sound stewardship of natural resources and environmental protection through respecting the outdoors. Zane, congratulations on a job well done. Thank you for being an inspiration to other kids and to adults as well with your great work.
Do you guys mind if I take a photo of you guys? Yeah. I know, I just wanted to point it out to you guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey, Chef.
Oh, sorry. I almost went right out the window.
Someone tape.
Yes.
Got Debbie here. Sorry. Got Debbie here.
No, we haven't taped.
That's what I mean. Got Debbie here. Don't say anything. You tape.
All right. That was very nice. Nice presentation.
Thank you, Ann.
Very nice, nice project.
They can come up here and sit and eat the cake.
Should we go into a recess or?
You're going to recess.
Just keep going. We'll just
Get this done.
Sorry.
Recess because you got no one sitting. Recess.
Oh, no worries, it's all good. It counts for his communication merit badge.
Bruce, you want to tell them we're going to go on recess for a couple minutes? Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We get started. Is any of the consultants out there, James, do you know?
She's tomorrow.
All right, I have an application, trustee resolution 2018-106, modification of permit number BLK 00026, William and Annette Imperial, 92 Little Neck Road, Southampton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-272-2-50.1, body of water, Old Fort Pond. We discussed this at the work session. I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2018-107, application for Shinnecock Fish Packers, Inc., 361 Beach Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-364-1-3, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. We had discussed this at the work session. I recommend its approval.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I have 2018-108, it's a first renewal. Patricia Payas and Michelle Hurst Payas, 14 Duckwood Lane, Hampton Bays. I recommend that they renew their permit.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2018-109, it is a modification and renewal for Mitch Udell, 27 Old Point Road, Quogue, New York. Again, we went through this at work session. I recommend its modification and renewal.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-110, applications for the Gillow Family Trust, UTA, DDA by Charles Gillow, 9 Edgemar Drive, North Sea. Body of water is Worley Pond. It's a dredging permit. I recommend this.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-111. It's a dock. Application is Edward M. Manor, 23 Weaver Dam Lane, Southampton. Body of water is Old Fort Pond. It's a dock. I recommend this to go forward.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-112, application Glover LLC, 14 Vitelli Silly, Sag Harbor, Suffolk County Tax Map 0900-2-1-43, body of water, Upper Cove. We discussed this at work session. I'd like to make a motion this goes through.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-113. This is a renewal, first renewal of an application by Seatuck 5 LLC, 50 South Bay Avenue, Eastport, New York. Body of water, Seatuck Cove, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-365-114. It's a renewal of an existing permit for work at this marina. I'd like to recommend it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-114, it's catwalk for Stephen Schloss, 39 Baycrest Avenue, West Hampton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-358-1-15, body of water, Beaver Dam Creek. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Trustee Resolution 2018-116, authorize the expenditures for the town of Southampton salt chargeback. I recommend its approval. I need a
Second.
You missed the warrant, Ed.
What's that?
You missed the warrant.
Oh.
115.
Okay. Trustee Resolution, well, let's do the 2016. I recommend its approval. I need a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. 2018, 115, warrant number 9 of 2018 for the trustees for the sum of $67,113.99.
Would you like me to read the check register into
Yes,
the record?
please.
Okay, Chesterfield Associates, $14,436.25. Herrick Hardware, $449.74.
Life Storage, which is Uncle Bob's for the year, $2,088. Southampton Press for legal advertising, $140. $50,000 to the town of Southampton, and that's for salary contribution quarterly,
Right.
for a total of $67,113.99.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I make a comment on the salt, so the public knows, we get our salt from the town of Southampton, and this is the trustees paying back the town's budget. So it comes out of our budget and goes to the town budget for the salt that we use on the trustee public roads that are under our auspice.
Yep. Public safety, we want it to be safe.
Thank you, Bruce. Trustee Resolution 2018-117 amended the 2018 adopted budget of the trustees. I need a second on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-118 authorizes a purchase and expenditure for dredging services from Chesterfield's Associates, Inc. Need a second on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2018-119 authorizes expenditure for Squires, Holden, Weissenbach, and Smith for the survey work done. I recommend its approval. I need a second. All in favor?
Where was that done?
That's for the village road.
The village roads.
Thank you.
So that we can
For the engineer.
plot outs of the roads, the alphabet roads for the parking spots, correct?
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And
Packet of 5.
You have a packet of 5?
packet of 5 I'd like to walk on.
Need a second.
Second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry,
Aye.
who was second, Scott?
Yeah.
And we're gonna go through
Authorizes the,
each individual resolution.
what's that?
Go through each one.
Okay. The first walk-on is trustee ID 29314, authorizes the purchase of office furniture. I recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor?
What office furniture is this?
Bill, we're going to replace the counter so that it's actual workstations, so the people who sit up there will be more comfortable. There's no room for them to
So it's
put their
all gonna be,
legs.
it's all gonna be lower?
It's going to be lower. The public will have the ability, like, if you've ever been in the town clerk's office, it's kind of like a height. It's here, and then it goes
You gotta
down.
sit down.
Right, and then we're going to work with Steve Troy to do something where there's a more permanent door, and then there'll be a piece of plexiglass there also. Because we've had problems with people just barging right into the office from the public, and dogs have run through there, little kids.
Dogs are safe.
Yeah,
Well, we're trying to make the office
Yeah.
more user-friendly and more practical for people.
well, security also.
Yeah, and
so.
and security, but
Steve Troy's going to help us with that.
the people wait online, there's 10 or 15 people sometimes, so we want to make sure that when they sit down, that they're comfortable and, get their needs accomplished. Walk-on number 2,
You need
trustee...
a vote, Ed.
Oh, so I recommend its approval. I need a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee ID 29404 authorizes the purchase of galvanized chains. That's for the that's for the marine maintenance, for the buoys and markers. I recommend its approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Authorizes, trustee ID 29406 authorizes the purchase of excavator services from Chesterfield's Associates, Inc., using the county contract. I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? This is walker number 4, trustee ID 29410, memorializing resolutions in support of state legislation to doing the trustees, the freeholders, and commonality of the town of Southampton a septic taxing entity. I need a second on that. All in favor?
Wait. I know, Scott, you've been working really hard on this.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to read it, and I probably would like to ask you a few questions about it.
Sure.
Is it okay if we just hang on to it until next time?
That would be a legal question, because the town board's going to be passing a memorializing resolution tomorrow.
And I think that, my understanding is that Thiel's office needs something from the trustees, and that's why we did it as a walk-on for
Correct.
today. So,
And it's tomorrow's meeting?
If you don't,
so-
if you don't want to vote for it, don't vote for it. But
Well, will you talk with me about it afterwards then?
Or do you want to, I mean, we can talk about it now.
Do you want to
give
take
me
the
a-
next, do you
give-
want to, do you
give
want
me
me
a-
to take the next one, and you can read it over, and if you have any questions, you can
you
ask?
can ask me.
Okay.
You can ask us.
That way I'll give you a few minutes,
Okay.
and then
Thank you.
we won't be pressuring. Okay, so we're going to skip over that one for now. Going to go to walk-on number 5, trustee ID 29411, authorizes Chesterfield Associates, Inc. to open the inlet from the ocean to Sag Pond during the period May 7th, 2018 to June 7th, 2018. The pond is getting high. It's Bruce's area. You want to give us a little bit of a update on what's happening down
Yeah,
there?
we're starting to get a few phone calls on it, and this is just proactive. We're in the planning stage, and if we're fortunate enough to secure a permit from the DEC and Army Corps and yada, 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 we're going to pop it. And this would be just a resolution authorizing us to do it. Because we have a couple more rain events. I got a couple gentlemen now calling, it's in their basement.
All right, and as of right now, with the recommendation of John Papajohn, our plover monitor, he recommends if it's going to happen basically in the next 2 weeks before the birds start
Correct.
nesting. All right? So I recommend we approve it. I need a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so what's the difference between a memorializing resolution and a regular resolution?
Well, in this resolution, we're just asking for some support. So we're memorializing why the trustees are looking for support from the town board and from the New York State Legislature in passing this separate tax line for the trustees.
So it's the first step, kind of?
It's, yeah, we're just,
Sort of.
right, we're just,
not
as a
quite.
board, you're requesting the support of both the town board and the New York State Legislature to pass this legislation for you.
And this is for the tax line?
Correct.
This is asking them
Okay.
to pass.
It
the
has
tax
to
line.
happen
Yeah.
in the state assembly and the Senate. It has to happen at that level, but we have to ask them to do that.
Okay.
We've been working on this for a long time.
Yep.
To get the finances of the trustees straightened out structurally for once and for all. This is part of the building blocks and the foundation of the future. We'll provide this, the town board will provide this, and then it's going to be up to our state assemblyman, Fred Thiel, who's working hard on this now, and obviously Senator Laval, to, get this through the state legislature. And again, it's a highly misunderstood board, so we may have to, do some lobbying, make some phone calls on this. It's very important, as you can see by evidence today, that we get our finances straightened out.
So, that's fine, thank you for the explanation. Is there a way to have an informational meeting about this?
In terms of-
To educate the public?
Well, we will do that. I was trying to do that today. We will do that, but time is of the essence because they have sessions.
No, I don't mean,
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to
after.
educate the public on this. I've been working on this for a long time. I tried to get some of that information
I
out
think
today.
that might be a good idea.
Yes.
If you know the history of some of this, by us entering into an IMA with the comptroller, it allowed us to have oversight of our funds and such. And because of that, I feel that it was a strong sense of our board to give to the attorneys and the courts that we were willing to work, with the best oversight. And because of that, the court case, which we had won, the Gessen versus Anathrone Holtz, which you should read because it's like 13 pages, and it was a very good, well-written decision by the court, and it pulled up a lot of old documents, why we should, maintain our funds and stuff like that. So there's a whole history that's followed there.
There's so much momentum for something as important as this. I would deem it historic. And I would say that based on what I've heard from the public, this was discussed throughout every hamlet that I've been to and some of the villages in support of this type of legislation to, clearly get the funding there so that we can do the job that we have to do, don't have to, even think about entertaining these other types of partnerships that even, like the Baykeeper was speaking about when he came, about, business and government and charities being involved. The trustees need a strong framework, and I think that between the three buckets, between comprehensive intermunicipal agreement with the town, on the general funding that comes in through there, they are taxing on our properties, through that tax line, combined with our enterprise revenues, which is our permit fees and so forth, and taking some pressure off by properly using the 20% water quality of the Community Preservation Fund for things that fit the law to a T, like the Cox Management Plan, I think will help us get to a much better financial point. And having it through a tax line where it's not an arbitrary number and it's not subject to any political will or any other type of influence, where it's a calculation. It requires, a lot of accountability and transparency. And like Ed said, when we did that deal with the comptroller to get us to that point, there'll be more work there, but we're already there. So the way I feel is that there's so much momentum now and so much work has been put into this that if we don't achieve this now, we should just stop talking about it. And you could just forget about ever fixing the trustees.
Because now we have to worry about where the funding comes from, and it's the money that the town takes in on our properties, marinas and such, and other stuff, and they disperse it to us as they will. I mean, basically, if we ask for another person in the office, we have to go to them and ask, and if we have the money, if we were taking the money in on a tax line, we would actually see how the funding is, and if we could afford it, we wouldn't have to ask every time we need anything done as far as the trustees, whether it's, legal or staffing.
And it's not simple. It's not a simple thing. It's complex, because there's also a stipulation of settlement between the town and the trustees.
Right.
That has to be, looked at and enforced and modified. And, if everybody comes to the table in good faith with, listen, we need to fix the trustees, this is what is important for the generations, this will be very successful and very good for everybody in this town, future generations. It has to occur, and right now is the time, momentum.
So my only other question is, where does litigation fees, how does that fit into the tax line? Is that separate?
No,
it's part of it?
Well, again, and that's, again, going to be a discussion through this whole comprehensive IMA with the town board, because there's different types of litigation, there's different types of action, some of it even is covered by insurance. But realistically, if, we're defending rights for everybody in the entire township. When you're the trustee, it's not just for that one little area, it's for everybody, and that's where the thought process has to be.
And it would clean up the ability for us, say, if we were going to take an action against the village for the alphabet roads. Now, the village and the town board have a good working, relationship. So the town board might not deem it, financially wise for them to pay for an action if it was going to happen. So it puts us in a very awkward position.
We have to defend public access. That easement, it's important for the people of the town and everybody to understand that you need a strong board of trustees. You need a financially sound board of trustees. It's a big job and a big responsibility. It's not simple by any means. It's very complex and very misunderstood. This will be really helping to clarify the funding end of it. Stable funding. People here were alluding to taking a collection pretty much. That's noble, that's nice, but that's not going to work sustainably over the long period of time.
But that's why I asked about an informational meeting at some point, so that maybe the public could begin to understand some of this process.
And get support.
Yeah.
And get support.
Yeah, well, absolutely we will, but this is the first step.
No, I get that.
I mean, I spoke to this issue, a couple Saturdays ago, and asked for some support at other meetings that I had to attend. This is the first point in time with everybody working on this so hard behind the scenes that at the other board and on our board, there are memorializing resolutions, and it's big news, it's historic. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the town, but this is, in my view, one of the most important things, right here.
100%. And let the public know that we're paying the town over $200,000 a year at an enterprise revenue. But according to our supervisor, we have no employees. So where's that $200,000 going? And understandable, I think it derived back in the day when they were selling sand. But it's never been clarified. Maybe this will clarify it.
Well, I think there has to be an educational process among the electeds. I think, boards do change. There's all kinds of information flew all over here today. And there was a lot of lawsuits that changed the face of the trustees, and it also clarified some things. And it also set the tone for how we have to operate. You can't go back to the 12 years ago and the 10 years ago and think that applies today, because it doesn't apply in some respects.
All right.
So
I could really go into a long dissertation of the whole thing, but
So that's another time.
oh, I could, yes,
Yeah,
I could.
well, 'cause
I think
I was
that's-
on the board when the town was in financial dire straits, and we helped them out, and it was supposed to be
People
for 1
forget.
year, but it didn't go that way, and it's always been a burden on us. So anyhow,
We never got it back.
no, we never got it
We
back.
need- we need to
And
re-
we've
we
had
need
that
to-
conversation over
Okay.
and over again.
Thank you
need to
for
revisit.
taking the time to,
Yep,
to
all right.
it's been a lot of, it's
So
been a lot of work.
as far as the walk-on number 4, trustee ID 29410, I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything else?
At this point in time,
Motion to close?
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.